G'day, guys. Me and Bart are here at this later evening run for the Eurasian live stream. So, I hope you've got some answers for him, because he's very keen to, never really carnivore, So that's his new name, according to Ted. So, Ted's the boss. He's basically stated that he was never really carnivore. And it's all about, taking pills. Was it the blue or the red pill?
Blue, red, and green. All the colours of the rainbow, Harry.
Really mixed it up, mate.
I know.
Really mixed it up. Yeah. Do you realise that when you were offered the red pill or the blue pill, you should avoid the green one?
So they say. Yeah. The green one, of course, is the most important of the lot. But there you go.
Yeah, that's it. Let's see what this crowd is up to. 3 live streams in a day. The doctors at bay. Oh God.
Yeah. You got to keep the bastards honest, don't you, Harry?
That's it. Especially some of those MDs that love their honey.
Yeah. So for those of you that haven't come into contact with me, I'm Bart. I'm an alcoholic, and my last drink was now.
Good. That's definitely not urine, is it? You're not like Cole.
No, that's not urine. It's piss, but it's not urine. That's the last of the bottle.
That's the real piss.
That's it. That's the last of it, Harry. Unfortunately, though, so there's no more after that. Oh well.
So you're going dry, mate.
Well, I've actually
you're going to give it a try.
Well, prior to yesterday, I did 23 or 4 days, I think, dry, and then I've had half a dozen stubbies and a bottle of wine in the last 2 days, and then next week we can go back to being dry for another few weeks or so, if you like. It's no skin off.
Yeah. I'm very much the same most of the time. I actually took all the last bits of alcohol out of my place some time ago, and just went to when I had gone to my mate's place, the guy that I actually go do my sort of walks on Saturday. Then we have a barbecue after and just talk shit about or gossip about all our other friends and relatives and stuff like that, which is more the thing that we do. And then a bit of honesty here, but I won't mention names who we gossip about, but they probably know who they are.
Yes. You're probably just talking about anecdotes, Harry. I don't think you've got any real evidence, have you? Just anecdotes.
Zeros. It's all zeros, mate. After I've had a few drinks, they all look zero.
Oh, look, on the upside, Michael Gregor's treadmill technician's in the house, so that's good to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, there's nothing like Dr. Gregor. Yes, a true champion of anorexia vegana. I think the treadmill gets more out of it than he does.
Well, there you have it.
Well, these devices sometimes can be really worked over.
Oh yes.
Right. Yes. So, mate, what's been happening with you?
Well, I've go on.
You go first. Tell us what's been happening in your life and neck of the woods.
Yeah, right. So, pretty much I've been plugging away at the YouTube thing. That's what I do. I've been concentrating on keeping the videos short and punchy, because I'm told that's what the algorithms like. I've been refraining from using any words shorter than wheelbarrow. I'm told they don't like those short words so much either. And also I've been doing some experimentation with seeing what happens when you ask people to set up a new account and subscribe and all that kind of stuff, to see whether YouTube is accurately reflecting that. I'll be reporting on that in due course in a few weeks once the legal team have finished dealing with that. Frankly, because it's interesting, I can tell you. Woo. So that's that
I'm not
side of that.
surprised.
Yeah. So I mean, the short take-home message for that, for those that want to know, is that if you think YouTube is a good faith, fair player in the marketplace, you're fucking kidding yourself. It's not. Okay, so that's that. I have the hard proof. I have my legal team onto it. We'll be looking at taking some action, potentially. But I'll be reporting on that when my legal team tells me it's time that I can do that. So that's that side of things. I've been promoting this bloody green pill, red pill, blue pill business for the last month or so, just because, well, for several reasons, actually, Harry. First of all, YouTube is not helping in terms of the income production thing. And we know that. There's no two ways about that. So I thought, well, why not? Secondly, I kind of thought to myself, well, you're being a bit selfish, actually, not telling people about this particular product, because it's frankly, it's magic. It really is. It's incredible what this thing does. Once you get your head around it, once you understand the science behind the thing. So I thought, stop being so bloody selfish, frankly. I mean, the reason I didn't want to do that is because as soon as you promote any kind of supplementation or any kind, the Vagoons are all over you. They're like, oh, there you go. So we can deal with that this evening if you like. I've got an hour that we can deal with that. So I thought, actually, it's time people knew about this thing. So I've been doing that, and that's been my focus in the last month or so. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much in a nutshell.
I can attest to recently. I've gone through a lot of my tags, and I've actually taken out a lot of those sort of words that I thought that the algorithms would play up on.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I've been coming on, it's not as if all of a sudden people on your side or Pim's side or whatever who have sort of discovered me out of nowhere. And I've jumped well over 100 subs by just getting rid of those tags.
Yeah.
So once I got rid of the tags, and I actually just dropped the tags to things like health, just generic words, I noticed a change in my fortunes immediately. And I'm going, what the fuck's going on here? So there is definitely a bit of skullduggery. I don't think I'm on one of their naughty lists in that regard. They may. I've heard people saying that they are. That there are some people that are put on naughty lists, but it's primarily the AIs.
Not until you've got 10,000 subs, Harry.
Okay, but it's primarily the AIs that are basically focused on keywords and stuff like that. And I think the tags are important. The actual, I've gone for more generic, like a Eurasian live stream or this or that. I've gone for more generic terms. I've taken out all the words like carnivore, carny, or whatever out of the all those sort of terms that they tend to. And since I've done that, I've noticed, and even some people that have subscribed to me aren't even subscribed to you or to other people. So I've actually looked there. Hopefully, those people will come across and subscribe. In that regard, because via me they'll get to know you and Pim as well. But because I've got all the featured sites, you guys and Garland Farms, JD, and many others, so people are aware of those other sites via mine. But the thing is, all of a sudden, I was stuck at about the 400 and mid 400s, and just hadn't budged at all. Absolutely not budged at all. I done a couple of live streams with you, got further exposure, was on others, putting comments all over the place. And what I noticed is nothing. And look at what's happened. I've basically just withdrawn a bit. I've been doing, I've been telling you, I've been doing all that sort of stuff, like looking at archaeological stuff and all sorts of other. I've sort of moved away slightly from looking at the day-to-day sort of YouTube stuff beyond yours and Pim's, but most of the others, and also JD's. I like JD's, so it is good, some good information always. And in that regard, I noticed that just getting rid of the tags and changing that, all of a sudden, my subs are going up.
Yeah.
And are still going up, and I'm going, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I'm now up to 560. It's sort of jumped dramatically within a very short amount of time. And that, to me, isn't accidental. I think that basically what's happened is the AI is not as virulent towards me, and automatically, occasionally, they pop one of my videos here and there up, and people get to notice it, the odd random person here or there. And I think that's where this dramatic change has happened, where I was stuck. Remember, I was telling you I was bitching and moaning about it, how I was stuck at that mid 400, and I felt at that time to throw in the towel, sick of it, whether continue. And then I tried to go to library, and I hadn't got my shit together because they've got a limit of 2 hours. And, and by the time I sort of got my act together, I realized that, oops, they changed their policies. So I got cut out of potentially growing in there. So I was just sort of really down with it. And then this was the last thing. And I think I've mentioned to you that I'd gone through my videos and changed names and changed all things, got rid of certain key words, and then magic happened, as one would say. So it's
to add to the magic, I'll give you a few more pearls of wisdom.
Okay, you do that.
If your videos are longer than 25 minutes, that'll count against you. And if it's a replay of a live stream, that'll count against you. You have to re-edit
Really?
it. Yep.
Okay. So
you have to re-edit it. You have to have an absolute highlights package. It has to be shorter than 20. You'll notice my discussion with Thomas this afternoon. We spoke about this just before we went live. Obviously, that discussion with Thomas was over an hour in length. What you guys saw on my channel this afternoon was a 25, 26-minute highlights package of that. And that's what you guys are going to get, because that's the thing that will spark the algorithm to be, this is a good thing. As soon as you put a replay up of a live stream or a long discussion or anything over 25 minutes in length, they'll cane you.
I think I understand the logic behind what they're doing is that they basically want more advertising dollars. So basically they want smaller videos that can be, so you as a consumer of social media, you watch more videos so they can put more commercials in. Yeah. And so
think about it yourself, Harry. When you're watching YouTube videos that are put together by somebody else, what's going to attract you? It's going to be a title and a thumbnail. You're going to click on that. And if that video doesn't grab you within 20 seconds or less, you're going to go, fuck it, and you're going to click off it.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you've got people, unless you've got people that really are interested in your content, they know a bit about you and stuff like that. Right. Otherwise, it's really hard. And I sort of realized, for me, it's really hard to make a lot of these shorter videos because it's the time. I've got a day job. It's not like yourself. You've got a bit more spare time than me. But even yourself, putting together videos takes a long time. Takes a lot of effort, constructing them and designing them, thinking about the concept, the components that have to go in, whether you've covered sufficiently the key elements of it, how it's going to be picked up by people. Sometimes I redo my intros and realize, that really doesn't capture you. And I've had to learn to, change those. Look, I love my live streams because it gives me an opportunity to interact with real people out there that want some help, information. They love a community in that regard. But it does also mean that it becomes hard for me to grow in the general sort of community because of those underlying limitations. For me, it's never been, it's not, I've got a day job, and so your circumstances are slightly different. You need it to make something because you're basically, yes, you are doing a service to the community. Yes, you are doing a service by providing really good scientific information to people that need it. But at the same time, you still have to live. You still have to put food on your table. It's not like my circumstance. If this was to go to buggery, I've still got a job that pays well, that puts food on my table. I don't have to worry in that regard. And I mean, even in 6 years' time, I'm still going to be relatively okay, because I'm on an older pension scheme, which basically means I get a lifetime pension, so I don't have to really worry about income in that regard. It makes it where my focus and motivation, I don't have to concern myself. I can tell you that if it was a money thing, I'd be off it, because it makes absolutely no logic to me. I mean, most of my activities basically are where I make my money is I've made my money in property and stocks, and that's where my focus has been on that sort of side of things. I can actually research, let's say, a pharmaceutical stock and make, like one of them that I made, 3.8 times the actual money on it. And that means I can spend a couple of hours in a week to study, to do all the research, to work out what the FDA are thinking about and stuff like that, about it. What are the characters out there? What sort of is trending on some of these blogs, the finance blogs and stuff like that, and then make a decision. Yep, this is going to have some legs, or isn't it? Or it's a waste of time, and also put a stop price in there so I don't get hammered. So I can get out.
Yeah, and then of course you hedge it, and
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, that's where I don't expect to make anything on YouTube. It's more, I've had health issues, and I've sort of worked through my own efforts. I've sort of found a way, and from knowledge from others in the community, both in the low carb community and broader, and sort of where I sort of come from more sort of traditional sciences. First I was in IT, and then I sort of shifted from IT into mapping and cartography. It's called spatial science now. We're called spatial information officers. Which is because it's all basically
really.
Yeah, it's all database driven. It's a very different animal. I mean, traditional but when you have health issues, what happens is, I know spatial information. Yeah, I know. I'm spaced out there. Yes. I feel like a remote imaging device. Yeah, so yes, back to the comedy. Yes.
Yeah.
Look, it's my. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I still, I'm spending time and effort in putting that, and I still want something for that. I basically wanted to get it from the YouTube, so I got to the subs. I was able to get that income there. I don't want to basically be getting it from my subs, especially in these hard economic times. It's difficult. Your case, I mean, you're in a difficult spot. It's basically it's your livelihood, and they're really attacking it in that regard. So for me it's not. It may become in the future. It may be an additional income sort of stream in the future for me as well. If I get over 1,000 or more, and things change in the YouTube world. I don't think so, but you can only hope in that regard. But I think at the same time, more of the community needs to I think there needs to become a sort of a groundswell, because it's not only our community that's affected. There's a lot of communities that are affected, and we need to basically try and link up with more people to start complaining to YouTube. I think if there is more pressure on YouTube, there may be other characters out there that will say, okay, there's a large proportion of YouTubers that are basically dissatisfied, and they may be more motivated to create a real competitive product beyond library or something like that. So because if somebody can see a market, if you basically have, let's say, 25% of this market that's organized and basically says, we're not going to put up with this shit, and we can walk, and somebody else realizes that, they're going to go, well, you know, there are other corporations out there that may say, we could cut into YouTube's or Google's sort of business, and we could create a compare, which then no different than the media, you know, like one newspaper or another newspaper cuts and takes advertising dollars away from another. You know, the potential there is that if they continue their skullduggery, that if people organise, they could potentially really put the brakes on this, you know, nonsense that's happening. I think they could pick us off one by one, but united as a sort of a, like, you know, like you get class actions, and, you know, as a united group of more people, and you know, maybe somebody needs to create some sort of new channel that is basically focused on this sort of nonsense about YouTube and stuff like that, and get more people out there, and just to go around to different websites and just post it, but link it up so people are aware of it, and create momentum and get people out there to literally come together to be more critical of this side.
Yep.
What do you think?
In the meantime, I mean, I support what you're saying, and I think that YouTube have absolutely got it wrong, and I think that it will cost them, and I think that it will cost them massively in the long run. In the meantime, neither you nor me nor all of us combined remotely have the power or the clout with YouTube to have any fucking sway at all, Harry.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what I've done is I've now decided this month, okay, for the first time this month, I've been promoting this supplement product. It's a product I've been taking for 10 years myself personally, with fantastic results, frankly. And I thought, you know, my original thought was I was never going to, I mean, while I wasn't going to hide the fact that I was taking the supplement, I have mentioned it. I've mentioned it from day one. Since I've been on YouTube, I've said I am taking this supplement.
I mean, you've told me about it as well.
Exactly. I've never hidden it. And I've never denied it. Why would I? Because it's a fantastic bloody product. But I've never
Can I just say one thing in regards to the product?
Yeah.
From my knowledge, and you've gone through, you've told me in private in the past about your situation with your eyes and your eyesight and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, I can tell you, a product that basically has these sort of reversal effects is pretty incredible. Now, obviously, obviously, you know, if somebody's young, healthy, they probably don't need it. You know, in that regard, because, you know, they may need it later on in life.
Well, it depends. Do they want to stay young and healthy, Harry? Do they want to stay that way?
That's true as well. You know, but usually young people, you know, they are not going to be thinking about those things. You know, just go back. You know, young people, even my age, you know, we thought we'd live forever. You know, nothing could kill us, or, you know, and just did craziest things out there. So. But people in the sort of our crowd, like middle-aged people like that, or older people that have got underlying conditions, it's a really a good idea. But even I would say to people on this side as well, even for your families, you know, it doesn't have to be you. Your families are basically, you know, they're not going to shift to your sort of diet. And so, you know, the potential there is that, you know, this could be something that helps them to basically at least slow down the damage they're doing to themselves. So that's another option that people should think about. You know, not everybody's going to switch to a carnivore diet. We've got to be honest about this. It's not going to happen. And so interventions of this sort are an option for a lot of people, and for family members that may not be willing, but they, you know, they've grown up in a culture of, you know, pills. So, you know, what's an extra pill? But at least this one will do them good.
So my thought process around this initially was, I am not going to promote this product on my YouTube channel. I'm going to keep my YouTube channel completely clean of any kind of product promotion. It's going to be purely about the carnivore diet. I'm going to stick to that. YouTube is going to do the right thing by me. They're going to treat me fairly. They're going to give me a fair hearing. They're going to give me a fair go, and everyone's going to win. Only it turns out YouTube are not going to do that. They are not going to give me a fair go. They are not going to give me a fair hearing. They are going to interfere with my income earning capacities. They are going to basically fuck me over in every way they can possibly do so. So I thought to this point, well, this is a great product. This is a fantastic product. This is a product that has not only saved my vision, in my opinion, but in having done that, it saved my life, frankly, to be honest. That's my opinion on it. I'm not claiming cause and effect. I'm not claiming therapeutic effect here because the FDA will not allow that. What I'm telling you is the top eyesight specialist in New Zealand told me 10 years ago that by now, 2020, I could expect to be legally blind and there was not a fucking thing he could do about it, or anybody else in the medical fraternity.
Well,
I can tell you, I can tell you, Harry, I am not legally blind. I am able to drive. In fact, the prescription on my prescription lenses here is less than it was 10 years ago, not more, actually. So medical profession, you can suck my dick. You've got it wrong. Here is a product that is associated with a I've got a 10-year.
It's good to hear that.
There you go.
An N of one association.
That's right. N of one, and it's associative. But I have been taking this product for 10 years in the face of having been told by the top medical expert in the country in which I live that I can expect to go blind about 3 years ago. End of story. Nothing you can do about it. Suck it up. It hasn't happened. My eyesight has got better. My health has got better. A lot of that's down to changing to a carnivore diet 3 years ago.
That helps as well. That helps.
Absolutely. Let's not say it doesn't. It does.
Exercise, fasting, and a cleaner diet, a less inflammatory diet also helps with stem cell production as well.
I'm laughing.
So you've probably what you've done is you've basically added additional benefits by so you've magnified the effect of the carnivore diet in a sense.
Possibly. I'm laughing a little bit, Harry, because your voice at the moment somehow on the StreamYards, it makes you sound like Darth Vader, and it's just funny as fuck. But let's just ignore that for now because that's completely beside the point. You've got this deep, sultry thing going on, and it's really, really funny. But let's just ignore that because the important point here is the information, and the information is this.
Is that changed?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think it's the software. I think it's StreamYards that are having a bit of a laugh. Frankly, they think you've got bigger balls than you've got, Harry. Frankly. Anyway, here's what I know. Here's what I know that you guys need to know. There is a product available. I've been taking it 10 years. It's had fantastic effect, in my opinion. I cannot claim cause and effect. I cannot claim therapeutic effect. The FDA won't allow that. Fine, I have to stay within the rules, but I can say take this to mean what you like. Here is a product that stimulates your body, your bone marrow, to release stem cells to your bloodstream the way that you used to be able to do that when you were an 18-year-old kid. Those stem cells float around in your blood. When they encounter tissues around your system that need renewal and repair, they bind to those tissues. Those stem cells then differentiate into brand new cells of whatever kind is needed right there at that site. Epithelial cells, muscle cells, cardiac cells, not hair follicle cells, obviously. In my case, that's not a priority that my body has decided just yet. Whatever, it'll get there. Or not,
Well, yeah, but remember, stem cells don't actually are not methylators in a sense. They will not turn genes on and off.
Correct.
So you're not going to. Yeah, a lot of because I've noticed a few comments around the place. Didn't do much for his hair, stuff like that, which is nonsense. Yeah, which is absolutely nonsense because it takes a number of generations to turn on or turn off certain genes, and in your case, your past relatives, their indiscretions, you end up with that, and it takes a number of generations to turn those things back on or off.
Yep, and I can tell you, Harry, that none of my forebears ever died of baldness. None of them.
Exactly. So you don't have to worry about that anyway.
Exactly. Anywho,
but it's just for the crowd out there, just to clarify that point about genetic drift and changes and stuff like that happens over a number of generations. That you're not only what you do today, but also what your past relatives did before you. But the difference is here we're talking about stem cells, which is basically rejuvenation of existing tissue that once upon a time would have been considered miraculous.
Yep.
Because especially when these new cells are going to be replacing senescent cells, damaged cells, older cells, with new cells that also have, full-grown telomeres.
Length telomeres.
Yeah. And telomeres do change over time. Sometimes they can grow and
telomeres.
Under certain circumstances. Yeah, but also we need to clarify one thing. Telomeres with fasting and certain things can still grow under certain circumstances. But here you've got something outside all that sort of stuff that actually creates new cells with youthful telomeres. Yeah. So it's not just to improve, slightly reversing some of the aging effects by doing certain lifestyle things, but this is basically radically replacing old for new, in a sense, just to clarify that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that's the nutshell. YouTube's not helping. I was keeping this product to myself, a bit selfish. I was keeping it secret. I was not telling you folks about it on this YouTube channel because I wanted to keep my YouTube channel absolutely clear of any kind of product endorsements, and I didn't want to give the Vagoons any ammunition. And I've now come to the conclusion I was being selfish by not telling you guys about it, because this is a great product. It's fantastic. It does exactly what it says it does. YouTube is not going to help me anyway, so fuck them. So I've spent this month being a bit more, okay, here's the thing, here's what I'm doing. This is why I can show you a photo of myself taken 10 years ago and put it side by side, and you would say to me, those two photos are taken a couple of weeks apart. 10 years ago. I look the same, Harry. And now I can't hear you at all because you're muted.
Oh,
there you go.
I forgot. I just didn't want to,
Yeah.
But I have noticed some of your older videos, and in some of your very early videos, you actually looked not only similar but slightly older.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I've actually looked at some of the videos, and I actually looked at sort of your facial sort of and stuff like that, and I noticed that so while some things are very similar, I mean, because the thing is, our remodeling of our tissue is always happening. It never stops.
Yeah.
So there are a whole lot of other factors. But at the same time, the thing that really is impressive that beyond the rejuvenation and the slowing down of aging, that's pretty good, but also the tissue repair side of things. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of issues, a lot of health issues, a lot of problems and stuff like that. And sometimes the protocols are very hard to comply with, dietary protocols, interventions and stuff like that. Even stuff that we recommend people do to make lifestyle changes sometimes are very hard for people to do. Even some of it, we cheat ourselves, now and then, but we're honest about it, because the reality is we're humans. And after all, as humans, we're susceptible to, to things. We're in a problematic food environment. We still have to live in an environment where it's got a lot of things that are assaulting our bodies in different ways. It's there are stresses of life. We are human after all. Unlike, I think I would have to say that unlike there's a lot of other YouTubers, and this is where they get into trouble, is they put a persona up, which is a completely false persona. Nothing to look here, everything's fine. And the reality is it isn't, because we are humans and all that. And I think that basically, approach maybe good for the commercial world, but the reality is people that are on social media want some realness to it. If only the AIs were just as respectful to that realness. You know, I think if you basically go out there with being a real person, and you know you can relate to a lot of these other people because you've lived a similar life in many regards, people will naturally attract. But you know, when you've got an AI that basically doesn't give a shit about those sort of human to human sort of elements and is more commercially driven, you know, it will stomp on you and try and actually push you into a little corner of the YouTube world and say you're going to stay there for a while. And yeah, it is that sort of skullduggery.
That's it. Yeah, it's nothing to do with what is true and what is right and what is just and what is good in the universe. It's to do with the agenda. It's to do with Agenda 21. It's to do with Google's agenda, because Google owns both Google and the YouTube, and it runs the algorithm and it decides who gets promoted and who doesn't. Knowing as I do that I have a limited amount of time this evening, Harry, I will keep us on track a little bit and just say that I need to let you know that tomorrow a.m. my time, 11 a.m., so it's going to be 8 a.m. Eastern Australian time, a bit earlier, obviously, a bit further west as you go. That's also going to be 11 p.m. GMT, and that's going to be middle of the evening US time as well. I'm going to have a very special guest on my fine YouTube channel. Her name is Linda Hoggard. She is a naturopath, and she is the one who introduced me originally to this particular product in a roundabout sort of a way. That we're talking about, the stem cell encouraging product. The questions, it would be great if we could all be there tomorrow to ask her the questions and hear her deal with those questions. And she's been around this product for 15 years. She was there on day one. Basically, she was pretty much there, you know, right from when the thing was first proposed. And when it was first put together. Obviously the product has been vastly improved over the years, over 15 years, etc. It's much better now than it was then. She knows the full insides of the thing, inside and out. She'd be the one to ask all the questions about it. She will be here live tomorrow on my channel, and it's a real coup to get her because her time is very, very valuable. And I'll tell you why, for nothing else, for no other reason, Harry. Let's just be really gauche and just tell you exactly what the situation is with her. She earns $350,000 a year marketing this product.
She's doing pretty well.
She does not need to fucking talk. She is my direct line of report in the business. Yep. She is the one who directly introduced me, but I am fucking nothing in her organization. She does not need to give me the time of day. But she's going to give us a couple of hours. She's going to give us a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon to talk about this thing. So, guys, don't fucking miss it, frankly. Be there, 11 a.m. tomorrow, New Zealand time, which is 11 p.m. GMT tomorrow. Linda Hoggard, naturopath and an absolute expert on this stem cell encouraging product. So, yeah, be there. Or don't be there. I don't give a fuck. But if you miss it, that's your funeral, frankly. So that's that one. What else should we talk about in the last 20 minutes before I have to go?
Okay, mate. We'll just,
before 10, otherwise I'm going to have myself shot.
Anyway, have you heard the latest kerfuffle between Lane Norton and and basically Sean Baker?
I haven't. I've called out Lane myself this week in a video. I've said Lane Norton posted a video saying that LDL is causal in heart disease, and I've said, okay, Charlie Brown, just like everybody else who's ever said that, why don't you fucking front up with some evidence to prove that, sunshine? And all I've got back is a a report from somebody else telling me that he had put a comment saying, "Who is this Bart Kay anyway, and does he have any peer-reviewed publications? I'm not just going to debate anybody." To which I laughed my absolute fucking head off, and I replied, "So, Lane, I heard that you wanted to know about my peer-reviewed publications. Well, pal, I've got more than you have, sunshine. So, still nothing." So, but no,
look, he's one of those sort of individuals that will attack certain people, but will never debate, or avoid debating. So that's his tactic, and especially he's really got it out for the carnival community. So he really goes sort of after, and I mean the recent one that he was talking about, which is another piece of nonsense. Highly confounded study, where it's Randall cycle, excess calories and stuff like that. It doesn't, and as Sean said, it doesn't matter what. If you're having excess too much and all that, it's going to be a problem. But he was trying to claim, and these people are on a sad diet. Okay, they had some animal fats in there and animal foods, but they're engaging around with that. What about all the sugar? He seems to forget about all that sort of stuff. These people are always selective when it comes to their sort of narrative in that regard. But I mean, there's a lot of science when it comes to fructose metabolism through the liver. And, I mean, I actually mentioned one earlier about Lustig, where he did an isocaloric with young kids, and basically pure junk food glucose and pure junk food which had some fructose in it. After I think it was a week or a bit longer, I can't remember the exact length of it, but it was for a certain period of time. The kids that were eating the pure junk food, but it was glucose based, those kids basically had a reduction in visceral fat.
Yeah.
And that's what always the science thinks. We know what historically and all the science has shown drives visceral fat. It's basically fructose and alcohol. It always has been. They metabolize the same way. It's been demonstrated over and over again multiple times in the literature. These sort of characters that are constantly, for big sugar and high fructose corn syrup and promoting that. The hard thing now is, in the past, it was much easier to identify some of these people and their connections. They are becoming far more stealthier nowadays. So they're actually setting up entities where they are linked up with these people, but without other people knowing, like overseas bank accounts, all sorts of things in that regard. And so it's really hard to research people when you can't access this information because it's in other countries where they don't report. So it's and this is the difficulty and all that. And so what do you do? The only thing is you can actually argue about the nonsense of what they're promoting, because it is nonsense in that regard. But there's another thing that I've been recently, my subs have brought to my attention about glucose science, so glycans and stuff like that, and I'm sort of looking at it, and while I understand the relationship of all these pericellular sort of matrix and the way it works and the signaling properties, and I'm cognizant of that, and I know that that even cancer cells, when they actually try to spread, they basically try to disrupt these signaling relationships and all that to be able to, exploit the nearby cells and stuff like that. But I see that as a downstream thing. Everybody's, it's like the new, we've had the microbiome bullshit over the top, So it seems like now we're going, the new one is now, these glycans, and they're it's over 200. 2,000 type varieties, and they do all this sort of stuff, but nobody knows actually what they do, and it's all speculation out there and all that. But they're making out that it basically is like a drivers for disease. Have you sort of heard a lot about this? What's your opinion about it?
Not really. I mean, there are so many things going on, Harry, with so many different areas of research.
Yep.
It all strikes me as being largely reductionist stuff. It all strikes me as being missing the entire point of holistic functioning in the real world, when you get these charlatans and these basically children like Lane Norton, who, let's make no mistake, Lane Norton is a fucking child who has a PhD certificate that the ink is still fucking wet on, with less than 20 peer-reviewed publications, coming online. Because he's got a bit of muscle on him, everybody thinks he's got some credibility, actually, because he's got muscle on him, which anybody can fucking do if they want to, which is not even fucking healthy in the first place. He's got several million followers on YouTube who think he's the bee's knees because he's got a PhD. But what he hasn't got is the first fucking clue of what he's talking about in terms of metabolism, physiology, holistic functioning of the human system, or even the first clue about the fucking universe, frankly. He's a fucking child in short pants, and he needs to sit down and shut the fuck up, frankly.
I mean, it's all a lot of, as you say, nonsense, reductionist nonsense and stuff like that, which I've railed against as well. And I've said to people, it doesn't elucidate, it doesn't really tell you much. You know, this narrow view, it's like saying, stearic acid. Okay, let's just take this nonsense.
Oh, don't get me started on Paul Saladino today, mate.
let's give you a massive dose of stearic acid and cause massive reverse electron transport and Ross signaling, which is over the top, which the cell can't deal with. Let's say we were to push this to the nth degree. More is better. No, it's not. The body basically has adapted over millions of years, or 350,000 years for Homo sapiens, but for the genus Homo, it's well over about 3 million years. That adaptation is quite clear from the N15 data that what we're designed to be eating. Now, the body knows how to work all these lipids, knows how to work all these proteins, amino acids, and all the different nutrients. And it's not difficult. And I actually showed people today, that umming and uffing about, all the nonsense and all that. And I said, guys, you need to stop basically, unless you've got a deficiency in something, supplement. But you need to get away from all this bullshit. And I actually showed them a number of foods that they can consume in my first live stream, that basically they can get more than the requirements for magnesium and potassium. And I pointed out exactly the amount. I said 120 odd milligrams you will lose every day of magnesium. You will lose 19 milligrams per kilo of body weight in potassium. So mine is about 1,300 odd. So, and I showed them all the foods that I eat, and I was well above. I was over 2,000. I said the rest will end up in the bowl. I will excrete out, whether it's from my feces or my urine. So, getting 4,700 and eating 10 fucking, wrecking my gut with 10 servings of leafy vegetables or shit like that. This is what we get from this reductionist nonsense and bullshit. And we don't look at human physiology, how it works in a holistic way, how it's interacting and operating, and homeostasis, where sodium plays a big role. More sodium is important. If you've basically lost those electrolytes, you've come down to a lower homeostasis. Obviously, you have to put them back, and then basically with a short-term electrolyte sort of supplementation, and then basically up your sodium to a level that will actually maintain that homeostasis between the intra and extracellular fluids. It's not complicated. People have been doing it for thousands of years. And the only reason before refrigeration nobody ever had electrolyte issues is because everything was fucking so salted that the body just said, oh, it never had a problem with homeostasis because there was so much salt. And on top of that, the kidneys didn't have to work very hard. Cortisol didn't have to go up, all these things. And actually, salt keeps cortisol down. So these people...
Harry, how did we possibly survive to now without using chronometer to tell us whether we'd meet our RDIs or not?
Exactly.
Will you get the fuck out of here, you vagoons, with your fucking ridiculous nonsense? Will you not shut the fuck up? No.
No, they can't. They can't help themselves. No. Oh, God. You go to every single one of those It's funny. They've got a bag of supplements, and then they go, "Oh, chronometer told me this."
Yeah, and
And
then
you go,
they've got the gall to go on fucking Michelle Lowe's fucking channel and say, "Oh, look, he's taking supplements. It's because he can't be healthy on his carnivore diet." Anecdotes, you see. That's all it is, No fucking evidence. It's just anecdotes.
have you seen the latest one with Michelle Lowe on it by JD?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen JD's video.
Oh, it's funny as the first part. Then he shows a bit of the evidence. Our dear friend, your best mate, Richard.
Oh yeah.
Mr. OnlyFans.
Richard, him. Yeah.
That's it. That guy.
Yeah, him. Yeah.
Guess what his new thing is? Don't eat organic. He said you should basically use industrial kibble. That means fertilizer and all that comes from petrochemical products that produces, and on the other hand, they say, oh, cows produce all these, greenhouse gases. And then they go for this as an option. And you know why, mate? The new thing? It's because if you've got a cow, remember, a cute, cuddly cow should be euthanized so it doesn't suffer, and you don't need cows, so you will need petrochemicals. Even though we've only got about enough petrochemicals for the, and fertilizers like from Morocco, which is a big fertilizer production. It's like the Saudi Arabia fertilizers at Morocco that most people aren't aware of, and pretty much, once we depleted that, what are we going to do? We need animals to basically rebuild soils. They've been doing it for millions and millions of years. It's just absolute. This is the misanthropy. This is this anti-ecological. I mean, these people are not just merely misanthropists. They are anti-ecologists as well. They don't give a shit about the ecological system. They talk about, oh, we care about the environment. No, you don't. You care about bullshit and cute, fun, furry animals, and basically, sticking your finger up somebody's ass.
Stick thumb up bum. Stick thumb up bum. There you go, lovely. Have some of that up there. That's how you do it. Just anecdotes, mind.
Exactly.
Oh yes.
Nice one, mate.
That's about the size. About the size of it. Yeah.
Yes. That community
situation, young man. We really are, Harry. Things have got completely out of shape. I saw a very, very interesting Facebook posting during the week, a couple of days ago. I don't know what it was, and it was a report that someone had walked into a store somewhere in America and they weren't wearing a mask. They'd walked into a store sans mask, and some millennial young man, some fucking upstart that clearly, was wetting his pants, probably 10 years ago, who's all adult now, wants to challenge this person. Where's your mask? Where's your mask and stuff? And apparently this person pulled a shell, like a seashell out of their pocket and said,
yep.
Yeah, it's okay, he said, with the shell in his hand. I don't need a mask. I have my magic shell here. And this young man was like, what do you mean, your magic shell? What the fuck is that going to do? And this guy said, exactly the same as your mask. Fuck all.
It's crazy stuff,
Yeah.
It's just madness out there. I've heard of incidents where some old lady had walked into a supermarket over there. I think it was actually, oh God, I'm trying to remember now. I can't remember. It's one of the big supermarket chains, but I just can't remember it. And she was attacked by another younger woman that literally attacked this older lady and threatened her that she was a murderer. She was a middle-aged woman, but she was basically a murderer and all this sort of stuff, really sort of nasty sort of stuff. People just don't realize that masks may reduce the viral load that comes out of somebody who already has the disease in that regard, but it doesn't prevent you getting the virus that's in the,
Sure.
and it depends if it's a colder sort of period of the year. That's why we get respiratory infections in,
Harry, let's
these.
boil this down. Let's boil this down because I've got like 4 minutes before I have to be
Yep,
offline.
fair enough.
So let's make this real simple. In terms of viruses, let me give you the skinny on this. You cannot hide from a virus. We are all connected. Every human being on this planet, we are all connected by 6 degrees of separation. We come into contact with each other every single day of our lives. We will not stop doing that, even on fear. There are people running around behind this lockdown right now, this week, as we speak, making secret liaisons so they can secretly go and have sex with each other. They are moving around. People will not be isolated from each other. It is not in our nature. You cannot hide from a virus. This virus will come into contact with every single human being on this planet, and it will do that within 12 months.
I agree.
You cannot affect this.
You would have to live in one of those bubble suits.
Correct. And
for the rest of your life.
Correct. And no one's going to do that. So forget it.
It's a ridiculous notion.
Fucked. Forget it. It's not happening. I'm fucking sick of this. It's fucking nonsense. It needs to stop.
Hey, Ted would like to see you in a bubble suit.
And it needs to fucking stop right now, because this is beyond a fucking joke.
Yeah, I know. I know.
The mask does fuck all. Okay? Avoiding being within 6 feet of another human being does fuck all. Every human being on this planet will be exposed, and they will be exposed this year. Get fucked. That's the reality of it. Okay? Let me finish here, because I really do have.
Okay. Sorry.
And I've got to go. Okay. The people who are likely to die from this infection already fucking have. Have a look at the fucking charts, people. Okay. There's an upskirt, another upskirt in the infection rate, but guess what's happening to the fucking death rate? Fucking nothing. Because those people who are going to die fucking have. I'm fucking sick of this. We need to go back to reality. We need to go back to normality. And that was what we were doing before March this year, not after that. This is not the new normal. This is not okay. This is not natural. This is fucking bullshit. Enough. Right. That's that. Those who want to know more about the stem cell enhancement product, give me an email. The email, I'm sure Harry will drop down underneath this video. It's bart.k.nz, which stands for New Zealand, @gmail.com. If you want to know more about the stem cell replacement product, it's fucking fantastic. It does exactly what it says on the tin. You need to know more about it. If you don't quite get that through your head at this point as to what that's about, come and talk to me, because if you don't understand how powerful that is, you've missed the point. You really have.
I'll add that into the comments area, so people will be able to.
Thanks, Harry.
So I won't put it as a comment. I'll actually put it into my description. What is Ted saying?
He's saying that I've got to get offline right now because Pim said I've got to be off by 10 p.m. Otherwise, there's going to be hell to pay. There'll be no sex tonight if I don't get off.
Well,
so
you better go then.
I better. All right. Have a great stream, Harry. Thanks for having us
Thanks,
on.
mate.
I appreciate that a great deal. Sorry for the very strong words, but for fuck's sake, people, enough is fucking enough. Knock it off. For fuck's sake.
Look, I think it's gone way too far. It's.
All right. Okay. There you go. Okay.
See you, mate.
See you, mate. Have a good night. Don't do anything.
You too.
On that.
Oh well, never say never.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, back to me. I better flow through some of these questions because we haven't even looked at them. So I hope you guys got something out of it. But it's always, I sort of agree with him that we've gone a bit over the top. And if we look at countries that had higher death rates earlier on and countries that had lower death rates, it was based on this sort of, what had happened with the respiratory infections in the prior years. So if more people had been culled out of the population in prior years which are old with comorbidities and vulnerabilities, those societies had less deaths. And then other societies had more deaths. And then the vitamin D aspect as well played as well, because we saw that parts of Sweden, where there was a lot of people from African countries and had very low vitamin D status, they ended up being something like 70% of the mortality rate. So there's a lot of factors in play, and we didn't have to destroy or do so much damage to the economy that we've actually done. So I'd agree with him on that. The problem is, the 90% of the population out there are just they are being indoctrinated in the new kibble culture. They're being indoctrinated in a whole lot of other things, unfortunately, which is a problem for a lot of us. It's basically not looking good for our future in that regard. Anyway, I better move on because we've got a few things. G'day, Alex. Oops. I'm going to flow through with some of this sort of stuff really fast, and StreamYard has literally moved me. So before it actually resets, because it actually hasn't reset, I'm surprised because it's usually on the hour that it resets. So is your comments and all that. Oh, definitely. G'day, Dave. Good to see you. Oh, Doctor. Oh, mate. Good to see you. You'll have to give us a bit of a technical demo one of these days. God, that bad. My raw butter was sold out. Oh, yeah. Well, Alex, shit happens. The King of Kings. That's T1 and T2. We don't know who's the king and who's the queen. Just joking. That'll get them going. That'll upset them. They'll go at each other full tong. You wait. You'll see it happening. Frankie Boy would love never really a carnival label for Bart. Yeah, I bet he would. What a joke, Now he's he's into honey. Him and Paul, yes, and honey. They like to sweeten each other up, maybe. Social media is one of the most important tools for social engineering. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, before that, it was the TV. Before that, it was newspapers. And before that, if we go right back to ancient times, it was basically orators, specially trained propagandists. Yes, unfortunately. More like the red pill vegan will jump on it. Yeah, probably. They probably need it. They probably need a lot of repair after their deficient diet and all the damage they've done to themselves. You never know. Could be a new income stream via the Church of Anorexia Vegana. Bart's channel doesn't display how many subs he's got. Even other channels have that information. Google is corrupt. Oh, look. I don't really know. I haven't asked him whether he's turned it off or turned it on. I think he may have turned it off to basically analyze, to that. I have no idea. And I didn't want to get into the actual nuances or discussions about that sort of stuff because he's still dealing with a potential legal ramifications. So that's why we didn't go into that sort of side of things. Yes, I know. Yes, unfortunately, that is the way YouTube keep it short. Well, I'd have to basically stop my live streams continuously if I did that. And the other thing is, in the past, you could actually cut snips out and redo, but I'd have to radically redo them to basically get anywhere. So I'm thinking about it. I'm, how to rebrand or remodel. Maybe I have through the week in the evenings, like little snippets where I just have discussion pieces on specific things. So I don't have to bother preparing anything. I just have small little 20-minute live streams through the week in the evening, and then just basically bang, do something, and then a quick one, a quick and dirty type thing. So I'm thinking about something like that. Like a mini, yes, exactly, like a live mini series. Yes, that's it. So let's see how that actually plays out. Look, I like to do live streams because I do it one day, I get it out of the way, I answer most people's questions, and then I move on. As I said, it's not a source of income for me. It's not a source. It's not my. I've got a day job. I've got other things. Yeah. Wouldn't call it actually. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Spaced out. It's actually not with a C, but with a T. Spatial. SPATIAL. So, yeah, it's not with a C. Not that sort of. Just to clarify the point. Yeah. So, yes. So tired. So tried out the self clearing mode on my oven. The house is full of smoke. Okay, now that doesn't sound good, Kitty. Issues and milk. Oh yes, I forgot my milk. Better finish that off. So yes. Yes, wrong. They did exactly. Yeah, Sky's right. They did it wrong. Very deep, sultry voice. Oh, thank you. I think it's because I'm actually running it through that program that I've got, which cuts out the background noise or whatever. It's really strange how it does it. Because it's actually rain outside now and all that, and probably you can't hear it. But so you actually are hearing just my voice without any background muffling or noise that basically distorts my voice. So it's probably you getting the more genuine form. Yes. May the force be with you. God almighty. Damn fucking troll. Bad connection, who knows? It's StreamYard. I'm on the free option of 20 hours a month. So, shit happens, so to speak. Yeah, it definitely is pie in the sky. Unless we get the numbers. Numbers are important. You actually organise more numbers. And, yeah. Yes. Ed. Sounds like, yes. Sounds, oh, God. The science deficiency. It probably is. Well, you need improvements in your feathers, so, yep, could do you a lot of good. G'day, Thomas. Good to see you, mate. Not to be confused with KFC. God. Are you promoting yourself as a different sort of bird? Is that what you're telling me? Would it be possible for stem cells to get to cornea and positively affect progress of keratoconus, autoimmune degenerative generation of cornea? I would say yes. That is a strong possibility. So, yeah, I would say, yep. Bart saying, "Who was that clown you had on, Harry?" Well, somebody from New Zealand. He was a Kiwi or half Kiwi. Just correcting myself. Yeah, so I would say, looking at Bart's sort of results with his, heading towards blindness and actually reversing it, I would say that's pretty good, that it would help. Obviously, where stem cells go, give you an example. Let's say you've got a bad heart. If you take this, the stem cells will prioritize the heart because that's more important to survival. Your liver is more important. So you may actually have to take it for much longer, correcting all these other areas and then eventually correcting that. But then again, it may, your other organs may be in a better condition, and then it may prioritize that. So it will always prioritize the areas where there's more damage in the body. And you'll probably, potentially with stem cells, you won't get all those stem cells going to that area. Some of it will go to other areas as well, but it will prioritize certain tissue that's more damaged. And obviously an area where you've got the most degeneration, obviously it potentially would go there. So I would say go to tomorrow when Bart's got the live chat and ask her those questions, because you're likely to get some information. She's probably got a lot of feedback from existing customers based on their results on a whole lot of different conditions. And I would say, look at that. Also with autoimmune diseases, do consider vitamin D, your vitamin D status. That's really important as well. But, even though vitamin D can slow things down, at the end of the day, this sort of therapy is probably a better option for you. But at the end of the day, you have to go check out the sort of stuff and find out and ask the questions, because they would that lady that Bart's interviewing, she would know her shit and she would have a lot of information. But I would say yes, based on what's happened to Bart and that how he's explained it to me, how it prioritizes these sort of things. Oh, actually, he's actually put a comment there. I just noticed. Yes, there you go. Answered for you. Good morning, Harry and Bart. Yes, g'day, Mandy. It's good to see you here. And we will move through here. Go to this. How many HCl capsules would you take with a meal to help stomach acidity? How long would you need to take them, and before your stomach begins to make sufficient amounts? Yeah, remember there could be issues as well. Let's not forget with your, it's not only you can actually have bacterial overgrowth. Thanks, mate. That's a bit of a worry. Don't say that too loud. People will get ideas. Thank God he lives in New Zealand. Just kidding, mate. But, if your small intestine, your intestinal tract, your small intestine, uses bile to basically clear out any overgrowth. So if you've got overgrowth that's actually, then it may not be just, obviously when you acidify your stomach, it does help. It does help to clear out some of that, but also bile plays a big role as well. So, how do you feel? Do you feel any pain when you're actually having a lot of fat? Do you feel any pain on the right-hand side, under your rib cage? That could be indicative, of a gallbladder issue. So you may need some bile salts and some enzymes and stuff like that additionally to this. But yes, meat, the more meat you consume, the more acidification you will create. And, and HCl will help for a certain period of time. I would basically take a certain amount, like let's say 3, up it, and see the sort of results you're getting and how you're feeling. So play around with the amount of capsules. And, some people find that when they get relief and things acidify properly when they've taken up to 7 tablets. So it can actually, it can vary between people. You know, it depends on a lot of different things, how bad your issues are. So you've got to play around. It's not a specific amount that I can recommend for you. It's going to be different for every person depending on their circumstances. But I would say play around and see what works for you. How do you feel? You know, so if you're feeling, you know, GERD type sort of symptoms, maybe you need a bit more. So you need to play around with the amount and see what works for you. Good to see you, mate. It's nothing like having a wacky toaster. Thanks, Angela. Okay, thoughts on reasons behind someone being constantly thirsty. I would basically say you're probably consuming, I don't know what you're consuming, you know, that's the other thing. I find that people that are in a sort of a more glycolytic type of, where they're actually utilizing more sugar-based metabolism rather than tend to have this sort of problem. I very, you know, are you hydrating enough? Are you losing? Are you salting enough? Are your electrolytes balanced? There's a lot of different factors that can actually play at that. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's summer, so are you doing a lot of physical activity and losing a lot of fluids? Some people lose more fluids than others, so there's a lot of factors that could be at play. Give me some information. Send me an email. Give me some information and a bit of a background exactly, and we'll try and troubleshoot it. Because everybody's individually different, you know. So I found that certain things that work for me don't work for other people, and certain things that work for other people. And I've had a number of people that have had this sort of stuff, like just upping their fat has fixed it. That means they're getting additional hydration from fat. Are you consuming too many carbs? Are you consuming too much protein and not getting enough hydration with that protein, or not enough fat? You know, that could be another factor as well. Remember, fat hydrates, sugar dehydrates. So that's another factor. So I'm not sure what your actually diet is to basically really give you an exact reason why it could be affecting you. I would need more details. Oh, exactly. Alex has heard this before me saying it. Yes, about how one dehydrates and the other hydrates. Good. At least I'm getting traction with you guys. That's good to hear. Also, yes, can be also, you know, but I would have to know the person's diet beforehand before I could actually comment exactly what could be driving it. So, because there are a number of conditions, so we could be sitting here speculating for about. Do you think it's a good idea to make your own electrolyte drink? Yeah, if you want to. Do you drink water with salt in it often? Just when I'm drinking, I just put a bit. I don't put a lot. I usually salt my food quite well, so I don't have to salt my water as much. I sometimes just have water, plain water, without any salt in it, because I do put extra salt. And I know the salt tolerance. I can, you know, if it's too salty, I've said, oh, my body's telling me I've had enough salt, and so I'll ease off. I listen to my body in terms of that. As long as I'm getting enough of the other electrolytes based on the excretion rate that I spoke earlier, and I'm putting enough salt in on my food and stuff like that, I primarily get most of my salt on the food that I'm eating. I actually like food to be a bit more saltier, so I enjoy it that way. So yeah, I put a bit of salt in my water, but not a lot. it's now and then. If it's a summer day where we're just moving into spring at the moment in the southern hemisphere, and so it's going to get warmer, and as it gets warmer, I usually tend to lose more fluids, tend to lose more electrolytes. So I do up my sodium, and I do up my my intake of water slightly. But that's when it becomes warmer. But at the moment, it's quite cold and all that. I'm not sweating. I'm not losing any fluids. So yeah, I don't really need to, add. I mean, it's a waste of, if I put more salt in my water, it'll just end up being urinated out anyway. So, why waste your time? But it depends on the circle. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's a different thing altogether. You have to look at the activities level. You got to look at what you're doing. So it's a number of factors. So listen to your body. And if I'm outdoors in the sun, moving around, you're going to be losing a lot of fluids and a lot of sodium. So you probably need more. So it depends on your circumstances. And if, let's say, you dump a bit too much and you start getting leg cramps and stuff like that, some of the other electrolytes, then take an electrolyte supplement for a short amount of time to shore it up, add more sodium to balance, to get the better homeostasis, and then you're fine. Based on your food, you will get enough. So check my live stream this morning, and I actually demonstrate exactly the food sources, the amounts, how to get them and stuff like that, and what are the quantities. And you'll be surprised that you're probably getting more than enough. It's really the sodium side and hydration that are important, and it depends on which part of the year it is as well. So, sitting there having like 8-10 glasses of water in winter is not my idea of being sensible, which a lot of people out there do. You basically need to hydrate accordingly to the period of year, your physical activities, and how you feel. You've got to listen to your body. If you feel slight thirst, respond to it like any other animal does. So that's the simplest way of actually putting it. Yes, just don't get on all fours because you're not a herbivorous animal. We'll leave that to the vegans. What is he saying? Bart has put his foot down. Oh, that's what he was, making his comment. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I let him go. I could have muted him if I wanted to, but he's a good friend, and he's passionate about the YouTube skullduggery, and yes. But remember, I'm boss here, and don't you forget it, T2. Careful, don't get Harry shadow banned. Oh, well, that's not going to work with YouTube. Bart for president. Oh, God. They don't have a president in New Zealand, a prime minister. That is what they have. Like Australia, it's the Westminster system. It's the British system of the West, where other European countries have a parliamentary system as well, but it's not the Westminster-based system in here. It's a comedy show. Lamps, good to see you, mate. Enough is enough. Yes, exactly. For all of us, it's become ridiculous with, initially when this sort of virus broke out and stuff like that, I was quite concerned. I was concerned that maybe it's a 1918 that it affects everyone. The 1918 virus killed a lot of young people. It really caused a lot of damage, where this one is just more of the run-of-the-mill, like your common cold, just worse than your common cold. G'day, Sky. Good to see you. Just slightly worse than your than the common cold in terms of how how virulent it is. It's more virulent and all that. It's not as mutagenic. It doesn't actually mutate as much. So it's much easier, for once you've got a template to deal with it in the future. So it's going to be probably less of a problem going in the future. But it really didn't. It only ravaged people that had underlying comorbidities, which is what usually the flu every year does as well. We've just, in the last couple of years, a lot of countries haven't had high flu rates. Like the flu deaths have been much lower in a lot of countries. Those countries actually saw greater numbers of death, like the US and a number of other countries. Countries that actually had more loss, like Greece, for instance, in the past years, had higher death rates from the flu. The consequence was they had lower death rates with the COVID-19. So, and the reason for that is because basically a lot of those people with comorbidities, a lot of them were taken out. So there weren't as many left over to be taken out. So really, our focus should be on good nutrition, comorbidities. No sound. Okay. Yeah, look, I don't know what's causing it. Because this is the microphone that I've actually got. Okay, let me just try something. I'm going to pop out and pop back in and see whether it fixes the problem. So I'll just leave for a second. I'll come back in because this is annoying if that's happening. Let's just... Okay, how do I sound now? Do I sound better? Anyone? How do I sound? Has it improved? Hello? Anyone? Oh, it's good. Oh, okay. We can gossip while Harry's gone. Thanks, mate. Look, I don't know what was causing it. By going out and coming back in, it seemed to resolve it. Yes, he's back. He's back. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Angela. Yes. Fuck me. That is annoying. Yeah. Look, don't know what was causing it. So, because the mic's still the same mic and everything else is, yeah. So, no idea. No idea. Yeah. True. You're right. Your thoughts on boron supplementation, Harry, especially on the carnivore diet. The soils in Northern Europe is quite low on boron. Yep, they're quite low in selenium as well. And selenium is very important for a lot of functions. I mean, one of the things that I usually talk about is the T4 to T3 conversion. While zinc is a minor player, selenium is the big player in that also. It inhibits, while I think I said it earlier, I realized I talked about taurine. Taurine has some like a with methionine as well. They has sort of a regulatory effect. It sort of proteins, sort of substrate have an effect, a regulatory effect on the thyroid and stuff like that. But I think I actually said that it had I got, this was on Pim's thing. I got a bit confused early in the morning, hadn't had enough sleep, and I just realized, and now that you've actually reminded me,
yeah, it's selenium that is the big inhibitor of reverse T3. So just to clarify that point, I just remembered that came to me now. But boron, yeah, look, it is a big problem around the world. Soils are deficient. Even animal foods are low. Plant foods are low. You know, this modern agriculture is really the problem. We shouldn't have to be supplementing these things. We just shouldn't be supplementing. But a lot of us, we don't need a lot of boron, generally speaking. It's not a big requirement. You need some, but you don't need massive. Most people can get it. Where I actually recommend boron is specifically for people like women that are basically going through menopausal state. It really helps them. And also men who have got too much prolactin and too much, estrogen from xenoestrogens, from environmental, and they've got their hormones are out of whack. And usually I say, you never want to go over 20 because it's really problematic. It's toxic. And you really want it because you're going to get some from food, and always it's safer to go to supplement at 12 initially, then drop down. And it's actually been shown that if you supplement for, like a couple of weeks and all that, you get an increase in testosterone. You get your hormones balance, so that's what the studies are showing. A lot of them are week or 2 week studies, which shows a change in some of these hormones. But obviously, if you're still basically exposing yourself to too many plastics, too many things in the environment, it can be hard to basically get boron to do a lot of things. It helps, but it's not a magical thing. And I would say that you probably need to, depending on where your circumstances are and all that, if you've tested yourself, then you could probably do higher doses for a while to bring down prolactin, bring down, I usually say to people, have you got any sort of male pattern baldness which doesn't run in the family? So you don't have genetic reasons like Bart has, but you basically, your hair's thinning out and you're doing all the other right things, like you're getting enough biotin, you're getting enough zinc, you're getting all the nutrients, selenium and all that support good hair follicles and stuff like that, copper and things like that in your diet, but still you're having issues. It could be basically because of high prolactin levels and also high levels of because of estrogen, because of xenoestrogens. So you sort of have to, yes, boron is a really good sort of modulator of these hormones, but it's not something you want to be doing long-term in high doses. It's not a very healthy thing because it can put things slightly out of whack. And that's why I've said my protocol is for a short, sharp response, but also clean up your environment as well. And then stick to about 3. For women who are going through menopause, stick to about 6 for a certain amount of time. And and as I said, I think I said to Kitty as well, to sort of come in and out of it. So, do 6 for a period of time, drop down to 3 for a period of time, and then go back up, I don't want people sort of increasing their sort of concentration in their body, in their tissue. So that's another side of things as well. So that's sort of my opinion on boron. It has its place as a biohack. And it depends where you are, at what point and what exposures you've got. But I would basically first try and eliminate the exposures, then use short-term boron supplementation to correct some of these hormonal imbalances. Yeah, that's pretty much my answer on that. Yep. And people just don't want to admit it's a huge scam. The Great Reset. Yes. Yes, we had higher levels of debt compared to 2008. And you've got a declining birth rate. I've said this before about negative interest rates and sort of it's, at this time, actually, it's the best time to basically, these guys are going to be printing money. It's probably by March in Australia, for instance, by March is when it's really going to take off. At the moment, people are holding back on all that. And, once these sort of policies are coming into effect, I would say, if you want to make some money in the short term, you definitely want to get into this sort of stuff, this sort of game, and yes, there's going to be asset appreciation, which is just going to be ludicrous. These guys are going to double down big time, So I don't think the reset's going to happen yet. But they are throwing the kitchen sink and everything at it at this stage. But it won't last. So it'll be another boom bust that eventually will come out of it. We've already had the mild controlled bust. Now where, things are potentially going to be inflated again, big time. But at some point it won't last, So if you get in early now, you'll probably make a bit of a quid and then get out and wait for the disaster for cheaper equities after that disaster. That's the best time. After a disaster, there's always cheap equities, assets to be taken up, especially with cheap credit. Yes. So, but you just have to pick the right assets, classes, and combinations. But anyway, that's for another day. Supposedly countries with lower boron in the soil had higher occurrences of arthritis. Yes, yep, it does. I've got Dad on board. Well, I've actually ordered. I've given some of mine, and so that I had, and I'm going to order him a bit more because he's got a sort of a bit of arthritis as well. So yeah, it does help. But as I said, when it comes to bones, that study back in, I think it was 1975, quite clearly illustrated that you could play around with all the other electrolytes, all the other minerals and all that. But if you're deficient in three things, protein, sodium, yes, the vilified sodium, and the other vilified thing, phosphorus, which has always we've been told too much animal foods, too much phosphorus, too much loss of calcium. What a lot of crap. If you eliminated any one of these three, and I'm going to do the video on it and explain this study. This was a clinical study where they had people locked and controlled. They could actually give them different electrolytes and different micronutrients with protein and sugar as their energy, and they could manipulate these other things and affect, both the amount of bone loss and muscle loss or gain of both those. So basically, we're talking about, osteoporosis and sarcopenia. So it's quite clear from this old study that all the nonsense that we've been told up to now, low sodium, low animal foods, is basically nonsense. And it's basically what has created an epidemic of osteoporosis and sarcopenia in old people, and that's why they literally moved around in wheelchairs in nursing homes, the old people, and why they're dying in such great numbers because they are so frail, They just have to basically walk and they could snap a bone. It's ridiculous what we've done to people with the nutritional advice that we've got. We've really fucked people up completely. Yes, anyway, I had to have my rant on that. And I know from my own father who started suffering from a bit of sarcopenia and stuff like that, and getting him on, and I still pressure him to eat more meat than what he is doing. Occasionally he will eat more meat, but he's not eating enough meat sometimes. And I get annoyed and I keep on pressuring him. And he does his little weights as well. So every day, which is good. At least he keeps to those. But his muscles have come back by 50%. So, which is pretty good, but it's still over a couple of years now, like 2 years. I wish he had basically, in the early stages, it was a struggle to get him to eat more meat. This is the problem with a lot of old people. It's really, they've been brainwashed to such an extent that it's really hard to get them to realize that they're just not having enough protein. in their diet, and they need more as you get older, because I've got him on taurine as well, because it's an amino transporter, so to increase the uptake of aminos via the gut. So and he's much better than what he used to be in that regard. So these are all important things. Obviously, he's allowed his knee to deteriorate quite a bit over a number of years, and now we're slowly reversing. He's feeling better, less pain than what he felt, but it will take, because he's done a lot of damage. And how much you can reverse at that level of damage is hard to say. So we'll see. It will be a bit of an eye opener, an N of one eye opener for me. And I'll let you guys know in the next year how he's doing, and whether he's doing better. I believe that he will be doing better, because he is already doing better than what he was 2 years ago. But how much better? Don't know. It'd be interesting to see how quickly an 85-year-old, with doing these adjustments and adding these both supplemental and things like that, how well he does. So be interesting anyway. What did I had the same feelings about it? Everyone will get exposed. Yeah, look, exactly. Every year we all get exposed to respiratory infections and all that. So we can't avoid, unless, as I said earlier, unless we're in a little bubble suit like those virologists use to basically go in and deal with things like Ebola and all sorts of nasties out there. Humanity can't live in a bubble suit. The reality is we're going to be all exposed, and now we've got more information about how vitamin D plays a big role in reducing the effects, the death rates. So where people have got good levels of vitamin D, like take Indonesia for instance, out of the people that had normal vitamin D levels, 96% had no issue. And I suspect that 4% that did, and some of them died, would have been, actually the 4% did die, that's right. Those people would have had suboptimal normal type thing, I suspect, and probably other comorbidities and whatever else. The people that had very low vitamin D levels, because of being Muslim, especially women in that sort of country, and had less vitamin D status, their death rate was in the 90s, very high. The ones that had the lowest levels, were dying at a very higher rate. So not good. And I've said to my Indonesian friends that are over there to basically get your vitamin D status up. Expose yourself. You've got such beautiful sun. They're all scared to basically become more darker skinned because it means you're poverty if you've got darker skin. So I just said, well, if you're not prepared to get into the sun, at least take vitamin D tablets. Take some supplementation. But God, if you're out there, why wouldn't you enjoy the sun? Anyway, what can one say? The Queen isn't here to defend himself, Harry. Oh, that's nasty. That's trouble. That is trouble. He's going to listen to this and he's going to be all over you like a rash. As a wood for T2 on the fact on. Oh, God. I'm not even going to comment. It's those two deteriorating. Yes. Now, did you? Yes, I had to get out for that. Ah, God. Harry, what would dark stool indicate? Could be it could be a number of things. It could basically be, is it hard? Is it in what state is it, the actual dark stool? So in what sort of state is it? Just put a comment down there. Is it hard? Is it soft? What is it? It could be basically. I know that from from gallbladder issues, sometimes you can actually get darker stools. So are you feeling any pain on the right-hand side in any regards? There could be blood in the stool. That's another thing, so is it reddish dark? So because there is dark, and then there is reddish dark that could indicate, blood in the stool. That could be, a gut, some sort of gut issue or polyps, or So there's a number of things that could be causing a dark stool. So I need a bit of additional information. Just put it there if you're still there. Otherwise, if you do listen to this after because you've gone, send me an email and give me a better description so I can give you a better reply. That was Bart. Yeah, I know. I had to get out for that. Okay, let's move. Dark foods could be blood too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, some foods as well. That's true. If you're eating certain foods, they can basically cause different colors in your stool as well. So sometimes it's better to diagnose. Go and get yourself test. Ask your doctor to do a stool, so to check. There's nothing like getting a stool check to find out exactly what's in it and what could be a problem. So it's very hard I don't do this sort of the Goji Man type stool analysis service. So yes. Yeah, exactly. Who was that clown? Now, was it? Are you sure? Feedback. How convince young adults son to try? Yes, always hard. Look, if you've got issues, consider it. Oh, mate. He's actually gone now, so I can actually say anything. So you like my sexy voice, mate, do you now? You damn Kiwis. And so my question about, was I fucking clear? Yes, you were, mate. I can't say that word. I should be saying that word. Not that I'm going to get demonetized, but basically, my content will become unsearchable. Yes. Thanks, Christina, for pointing that out. Yes. Red Bill Boy. Ooh, that's under the belt. Yeah, definitely. Yes, he's a fucking tool. That's basically what he is. He's a dickhead. But the only thing I'm scared about is being forced to be vaccinated, especially in America where I'm still fucking here. Yeah, okay, mate. Okay. This damn Kiwi's trolling me. Hey, weren't you supposed to be somewhere doing the job? Or it's basically him giving you the finger. See, you stayed on too long, mate. Yes. Get fucked. I expected that from you. I didn't expect anything better. G'day, Sky. Good to see you. I'm waiting for Pim to appear to come on and basically make a few comments. She'll save me. Uh, yes, well, he's just angry at YouTube. Oh, that's why he's not getting any. Oh, she's asleep, is she? You know, lambs. You know a lot. The job fell through by the looks of it. Looks like it. Exactly. You didn't have your rant. No, it's just basically my connection. Something was actually just playing up. When I got out and came back in, it fixed it. I don't know why. What happened? Something reset. No idea. So it was a bit annoying because that would have affected the sound for a while, you know. So yes, give me a deeper voice. Some of you liked it. Yes, the sort of Darth Vader-y voice. Yeah, unfortunately, that really fucks me because I love traveling. Hopefully we get the British one, which is less problematic. So, it's more about the crackling sound and all that, so I'll move beyond that point. You like my deep voice, don't you, mate? You were for momentarily when I went out. Luke, I'm your father. uh, we're getting more information from him. I'm Ireland and can hear you, no problems. Great. No, you didn't, Sky. You're always welcome on the stream. And if you do want to have, come on, do let me know. We'll do some collabs together if you want to. It'd be great. Have a bit of because Bart and me do have a bit of a, you could say, we like the sort of the comedy side as well. We do a bit of that and a bit of joking and stuff like that, and so yes. So we enjoy ourselves. You gotta have a bit. You gotta entertain yourself a bit. You can't take yourself too serious about. I've got Luke gear, that basically does a lot of the little sort of animation stuff for me and all that, and takes the piss out of me, and that's fine. I really enjoy that. There's nothing like, you can't take yourself too serious, and sometimes it's good to basically, to somebody take the piss out of you in a nice way, which is what Luke does. So I do like him a lot, and thank him for supporting my my channel in that regard. So yeah, it's good value. Lamps. I wouldn't expect anything different. You're getting as bad as T1 and T2. Do you realise that? Hey, somebody enjoyed my voice, my deep voice. See, mate? See, I was telling you, for a moment there, I had them going. They were enjoying my deep voice, and, you had to ruin it for me. Oops. God almighty. Maybe Bart is talented to type and fuck at the same time. You never know. It wouldn't surprise me in that regard. Yeah, I've talked about it before I am doing a video on it, so you will get the snip of that. But if you really want some information, I've already spoken about it in my previous live stream, so check that out. And do you really see Pim putting up with that kitty? Probably not. Especially if it's on webcam. Bart's only. I'm not sorry, mate. Sorry, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Yes, you know the thing only, and the fans. That's not going to happen. Fans only. God Almighty. We're hold on. I'm just losing it myself. Where about did you say you had some notes or videos to debunk veganism? Nowhere. They debunk themselves. Have you seen them recently? They've been arguing about different supplements, about different things, how to do the vegan diet. They're actually debunking each other, saying, no, you're wrong, I'm right. They're actually debunking each other. You know, it's just hilarious. You should go and check it out. Some of their recent stuff, shenanigans about them. Well, really, mate? You have offered in the past to be more revealing. I'm surprised you haven't taken that option. It's probably because what's this? OnlyFans Ethereum streams. You did deterioration stream. Bloody hell. God, and we've still got another hour to go. And we're at the bottom. I can't believe I actually made it to the bottom. Shit, that was quick. Voice only fans. Yeah, probably. Are there issues with taking melatonin long term? Yes, you downregulate your own endogenous production, and a lot of the supplements are problematic because they're too high. And I'm not convinced that they're a good strategy to be used. Now, there are some very low dose versions. So let's say you've got issues with sleep and stuff like that. You're trying to sort things out. A very slow dose pulsatile, that means 1 week on, 1 week off, like like a quarter of the requirements. And then just send me a request, Dominic, and I will send you because I can't remember the supplement off the top of my head that I recommended to someone else. So send me and I'll find it, the email, the specific one, and as a short-term thing. But really, you should ultimately fix up. I don't take any melatonin. I did a while back, about a year ago, or a bit longer than that. And I had some left over, and I actually gave it to my sister because she was struggling. I said, just take a very low amount for a short-term period. She did that, started getting good sleep, and then just threw it away. And then she was back to normal. So she was just going through a very stressful period in her life, and her sleep was erratic, her diet was erratic, and so we had to fix the diet. And that period she went a bit more carnivorous, and all things settled down. So as a short-term intervention, as a very low dose, yes, but I would not take high doses, and I would not take them over a long period of time. The results aren't good in that regard. So no would be if you can fix your other things of your circadian signaling, get out in the morning, connect yourself with the early light through the day, try and get out and get some light some natural light, and then in the evening as the sun's going down, try and actually reset your circadian rhythms with that to basically drive up the production of melatonin. And also fix your lighting in your home, EMFs and other things, the blue light exposure as much as possible. Wear glasses that are basically blue blocking. So there's a lot of different strategies that can help improve your sleep cycle and all that. Melatonin should be a last resort, and the person that I actually gave it to has actually got mitochondrial damage, because melatonin does help repair, and so she doesn't have the capacity to basically produce enough, so she can't sleep. So we're trying to repair, sort of repair protocol. So, but for people that basically are just not sleeping properly or eating properly, or the light issues, the circadian sort of side, just fix those much better in that regard. Yeah. Yep. Bottom was out. Yeah, I noticed your other comment down there. Yeah, it's got to be basically low, and actually even lower than that. Busting it up. You can get those tablets which break in the middle, and you can actually bust them into 4, so you can actually have a quarter. So you don't want to be taking too much. So it's not a good idea. So that's the thing, and it's not a long-term solution. You've got to fix up the other stuff. So hopefully that helps. If you want some more detailed information of the brand that I recommended that other lady, I can just email me and I will send it through to you. Yes, exactly, doctor. Yes, I agree with you entirely. So you put him onto this, did you? As a new income stream? God, isn't that unethical? If you do this, the soda test and get no belching, but only some loose stools as a symptom, would you think this is a stomach acid issue? The belching usually tells you that you've got an issue. The loose stools, I have no idea about the loose stools. I'm aware of the actual test, the baking soda tests. I've heard about it, but I've never done it myself. Never, so I corrected things my own way by putting more and just listening to my body and my response by taking more HCl and, and also the enzymes and stuff like that, and the biosalts and all that to clear out. I've still got a bit of sludge, I believe. So, but the actual stones did come out, and I had a bit of discomfort. Actually, I did have a bit of inflammation with my pancreas at the time, and I was getting this really funny sort of some loose stools and all sorts of symptoms and all that. But once I was over that, I was fine. I could actually consume, because I consume quite a bit of, like my milk and quite a bit of cream, and cream is very hot, is very fat, like 48% in that I put into my coffees and all that. I love cream, and I don't get any problems now. So yeah, they were slightly they were slightly green. Some of them were actually also, there was, like in my feces and stuff like that came out, there was also a lot of like brown tanny, light browny tan color. So you get all these sort of funny discolorations of your feces and stuff like that. So some of them were slightly tanny, a lot of them were green. So yeah, they varied a bit in that regard. So yes. Tell us more. Oh, mate, what can I say? You're desperate, aren't you? You're on your own there, on your computer. There's nothing to excite you. Even the minus thing will. Uh, Ed, how long is how long is it to long to stay in the sun? Is there a temperature? Look, the sun. Like, is there a temperature in Australia that would recommend for you wouldn't recommend for going into the sun? Look, I've actually in Tasmania, we're quite south, and summer basically. Let me just allow the technician to be visible. And I used to basically within half an hour. In the past, when I was on a sad diet, I used to get burnt. So it didn't take much because I had a lot of seed oils incorporated into my tissue. So I really had bad fats and all that. And I also had poor nutrition and all that. So it did make my longest that I've actually done in Australia, sitting out in the sun before I got slightly pink, was basically 5 hours. But that was on high doses of retinol and MK4, and it seemed to be very protective, like a sunscreen. So I pushed the envelope. Like the longest I'd done, like in Southeast Asia, was 4 hours, and I was getting my partner to go out and buy me liver to get more retinol into my system. And I had also, because also liver and eggs, more MK4. So I was trying to up these, and I was able to stay out for about 4 hours in the tropics before I started getting a bit pink. But I never got burnt. Not once did I get burnt when I was over there. So it is protective, but it does actually reduce on the high retinol amounts. It does reduce the amount of, melanin production. So, it was much harder to actually to get a tan. It was protective, but it was much harder to get a tan, which sort of was annoying in a sense. So it allowed me to go out and about, but yeah, so bit of an issue there. No, that would never happen. She'd castrate him. Seed oils. You incorporate shit into your diet, seed oils and sugar and glycate, those tissues, and you will basically make yourself susceptible to damage, So you make yourself more vulnerable. But when you've got a species appropriate diet, your body can protect itself. So it's like traditional, tribal people. They would go out and they would actually even lather their body with blood, and they would all, part of the tribal group, it was a tradition for them to cut pieces of liver and basically share it amongst the actual hunters. So they were well protected in that regard. And it's really, when you look at you go in the past, and I remember in Greece, the older blokes that used to go out in the sun continuously and work, like on construction sites and stuff like that. None of them put on sunscreen whatsoever. And they were out there working all day long and not getting burnt, and very protective. Yes, their melanin, their skin was much darker, but they would have started at an earlier age, being exposed to the sun. So yes, melanin and all that, but also their diet was much better because they were basically consuming a lot of organ meats in Greece. So they were getting much higher levels of retinol, MK4, which is very protective for the skin. And this is another reason why they had less problems. I think your natural sunscreen comes from these sort of, important nutrients in the micronutrients in the diet. So, you can put sunscreen on, but there are plenty of people that put sunscreen with a poor diet and still get burnt and still basically get cancer, skin cancer. Skin cancer rates have gone up, even though we're putting more protection on. It's not working because it's the diet. We're eating shit crap, which is damaging making our skins vulnerable to damage. Seed oils are the worst of the worst. And pretty much if you eliminate seed oils, it takes a while. Stored PUFA can take up to 4 to 6 years to get rid of. And if you're losing weight, let's say you've got rid of, because you have turnover of cells, and you get rid of a lot of these bad lipids out of your system. So you take these things out, but let's say you're carrying a bit of weight, and then in 6 years' time, you start, oh, yeah, I'll go on a diet, I'll lose some weight. Well, you're going to be releasing some of that toxic stuff that got stored in your fat cells. So you're going to have the same problem again. So you may need at that stage, I always say to people, if you've been on a SAD diet in the past, make sure you've got a low dose vitamin E to deal with it. So when you're actually, that stuff's coming out of your fat cells. So that's what I usually say to people. And from my own experience, I was able to basically improve my situation. And so now, I'm doing pretty well. Even my mates, are surprised, 5 hours. This is my mate Sean, that I go for a walks on Saturday. I was out there, grilling myself. My younger sister was there, and they literally moved away from the sun within about, even though they eat a bit of a low carb type diet, they moved away at about within 2 hours or whatever, because they could feel I was still out there. And they go, fuck, they couldn't believe it. It took me 5 hours to basically get, but I deliberately wanted to prove a point that high doses of both those things will be protective. It's not something that I do every day. It was an experiment on my side to basically see how long could I extend before I had that effect. But even if you're taking those nutrients, which regulate the collagen degrading enzymes, still, if you've got these bad lipids incorporated in your skin, it's going to take some time before you can really be out in the sun for quite a bit. So, you really need to eliminate these things out of your diet completely, the seed oils, and you need to basically also, you have to consider, when you're eating outdoors, when you're eating out at a restaurant and all that, what sort of food am I going to have? So you've got to really, I go for a steak, and basically the way I do it is I go for a rare steak, and pretty much nothing else. I tell them, do not put any potatoes there whatsoever. And because sometimes they will not serve me just steak only, I say, give me a salad, but no oils, no, I'll just put lemon on, just put lemon juice, and I just don't eat it. So in that regard, so you got to keep away from this toxic shit. If you keep away from this toxic shit, you'll be better. You'll be far better in the long run. Slowly, you'll clear out that crap, and once you clear out that crap, so that's basically it. Send me an email, mate, and I'll send you the brand. But that should be your first strategy. You need to clean up the other stuff, your sleep patterns, your blue light exposure, those sort of things, your circadian sort of adjustments with your environment. So keep that in mind. Yes, she is. Pim is definitely a very classy woman. Oops. Oh, shit. Nearly lost my damn spot. Damn. Why do people say you need to have carbohydrates to retain electrolytes? Well, carbohydrates basically, we don't need to. Carbohydrates basically will, if you take very high doses of very high carbohydrates, like Walter Kempner recommended back in the 1930s. This is before people knew that you could actually achieve the same results with a ketogenic diet to fix certain, kidney diseases. But he recommended that basically you only supplement with none of the electrolytes, because he didn't want to actually have a lot of water retention, because he knew that, he sort of knew from trial and error, high insulin causes more water retention. So because he was aware of this, he basically, 1 gram will give you about approximately 3.8 of water. in terms of, fluid retention. But what he basically did, he had these people on very low fat and very low protein. So it was 4% and 2% fat, and the rest, 94% was carbohydrate. So these people, had their electrolytes were in the toilet, basically, and it didn't supplement electrolytes at all because it would be so water retentive because of the high insulin. Insulin is what drives high blood pressure. Insulin is what will retain too many of these, electrolytes beyond the physiological requirements. And that's why he had to do what he did in order to get the results that he did. But there are better ways, and this is pre-Randall, Philip Randall, 1963. This is pre that knowledge. And so that's part of the reason why they were using these sort of strategies. But I would say if you're, on a species appropriate diet, stick to basically, dosage, stick to basically, 3.8, but anyway, pretty close. Stick to a species appropriate diet and salting your meat sufficiently, because remember what I mentioned earlier in terms of protecting yourself against sarcopenia, and the three things, phosphorus, protein, and sodium, to be more particular. So that's what a clinical study with people locked in clinical wards and having things included or excluded in certain amounts and seeing what the effects will be. So if you want to maintain into old age, good, strong muscles and bones, make sure you're eating salted meat. Simple. Anyway, I used a protocol put forth by Jack Cruz and Elliot Overton, and what Harry's talking about. No blue light. Yep. My sleep improved greatly. Yep. Within 2 weeks. Thank you, Harry. Yep. Exactly. And that's sort of my. So they've got no blue light whatsoever emitting. And then there's the ones like later in the night, which is the red ones, which I've shown before, which basically are the near infrared and stuff like that. And once I get off this stream at 9 o'clock, I'll basically shut all this down and switch that on. And that will be appropriate for night. And that's what's the light in the toilet, in my bedroom. So if I have to get up for whatever reason, which I normally don't, unless I've had booze late in the night, that can happen. So yes, you're welcome, mate. Yeah, I'm glad that you've seen improvements. And Dominic, it's like everyone, you sort of just need to clean up your environment. Sometimes it's not practical, I understand. It's difficult. It's not easy because you've got other family members, there's other costs, there's difficulties. Try and do small things. Small things are better than doing nothing. So that's pretty much it. Well, I knew you'd admit it. Yes, you big fucking pimp. I knew you had your finger in that affair. I'm grateful for not having night shift in my schedule anymore. Great, yeah, because Christina had issues as well. That screwed up my sleeping entirely. I mean, you sort of started eating in daytime, as I sort of recommended, and sort of used some strategies which helped you, I remember, for a while. But night shift is it's really hard on the body, even though you may take some mitigation strategies. They're not perfect. So yeah, I'm happy to hear that you're not in that routine. I think that generally there should be legislation at some point in the future. People realize how bad night shifts work is, and they will bring special legislation where people will be rotated in and out. So, you may do a month and then another person do a month. So, so people are not doing, months over months, years over years, this sort of thing, because it's so damaging to the body. When you're out of whack with the circadian rhythms of the planet. Anyway, yes, they were, some of them, the majority of them. Oh, fuck, I lost my spot. Yes, mate, yes. You're so interested. I'm concerned about you, mate. How would you go about treating acne? More vitamin D and get rid of the sugar, get rid of the seed oils, and retinol and MK4. The fat soluble vitamins are really important for good skin health. Also, things like that are higher, foods that are higher in niacin are also good for your skin. So basically, things like pork, bacon, things like that. Tuna, so certain fish that are basically higher in niacin. So all those things are good. But really, at the end of the day, the sugar and insulin resistance is what drives things like acne. And also people that have little like skin tags on that's high insulin resistance. It's a giveaway. And most young people that have higher levels of acne, it's sugar. You reduce the sugar, the acne starts reducing. So, yeah. That's it. Exactly. That's it. You got to get rid of that shit. Yep. Lots of liver for skin. Yep, exactly. Because it's got vitamin D. It's got retinol. It's got MK4. It's the perfect food. Eggs as well. So Harry, your Greek skin, us ours melt like the ice cream. Actually, that's not exactly. This is where there's a lot of people aren't aware of. Greece is a unified culture, as a culture, language, and all that. But Greeks are very varied when it comes to their skin color and skin tone. All the early Greek tribes that came in, the Ionians, the Ionics, the Achaeans, when these tribes came in, they conquered the lands which were lived by what are called pre-Greeks. That means the civilizations like the Minoan and the Cyclades civilization that existed. These people had come in from Anatolia, from basically Asia Minor, from this area. They'd come in from this part of the world, and they were agriculturalists, and they had more olive skinned, The majority of immigrants from Greece come from the islands because they're involved in our shipbuilding. We've got one of the biggest shipbuilding industries in the world, or merchant navies. We used to have a big shipbuilding industry. We don't anymore, but we've got a big merchant navy. And those people used to travel the world. So the majority of Greeks that you see, like in Australia, 90% of the Greeks that are in are islanders. So they are these people that are more olive skinned. And that's the people you identify as Greeks. When you go to Greece, that's not the case. Majority of mainlanders are more like me, lighter skin. And Greece is 80% mountainous. So most of my ancestry comes from mountainous areas. So you go to places like, I've got green eyes. My father's got blue eyes. Some of my relatives are blonde haired, coming from the mountainous areas of Greece. And primarily those are basically from northern the mountainous areas, which is the majority of the western part and all that, and the Peloponnese are pretty much Doric, or their origins. And those Doric, they were the last, as they called, the sons of Hercules, that came in at 1100 after the collapse of the Mycenaean civilization of the Achaeans. And pretty much these part of the conquered most of those lands. I've been basically lily white for most of my life. My friends basically say, you fucking hell, you can't be Greek. You know, you're too light skinned. You can hardly, you go to the tropics and come back and you still haven't put much color. I'm very much like you guys. I used to burn like mad, I can tell you. So, and most of my relatives, you go up, they're actually even lighter skinned than some of the people in the British Isles, I can tell you. So they look more like, you know, like white Swedes. So there's a lot of the people that left Greece were islanders because they were impoverished islands. They were, you know, the outcrops of volcanoes. They basically had nothing else other than some pastoral sheep and goats to survive on. And so they were very poor people. They were the poorest people in Greece. And they basically left and went to America, to other parts of Europe, to the Australasian and all that. My father didn't have to come. My mother, she came over with her brother, and he just wanted short term because a friend of his who was an islander had told him, why don't you come to Australia and make a bit of money? He came over, he stayed for a while, made some money and went back to Greece. My mum at the time was still here in that early stage before her brother went back to Greece. The guy that actually I mentioned last time that died at 93. And mum basically, you know, she was in the older age bracket, so to speak. She'd met my father, and you know, her brother sort of put pressure to try and get my father over, who was working at the time in the shipbuilding industry in Scaramanga, down in the Pedias, or the bottom area of towards the south of Athens. And so, you know, people that come from mountainous areas in Greece are like me, light skinned. So I can tell you, mate, I used to burn very easily. So I don't have any special in that regard. So, and you know, unlike the islanders, who basically, though, that part of those three early tribes that intermixed a lot with the pre-Greeks and have those characteristics, those Indo-Europeans that mixed, the majority of my genes, I actually even showed my genes last time, are more Doric, which are the people that came much later, the last tribe, Indo-European Greek tribe that came in. And so, and they dominated most of Greece, the Peloponnese, most of the central and west coast part, all of northern Greece. So they were the big dominant group. They just displaced most of the others onto the islands. They pushed them out basically at knife point or killed them off. So that's why, you know, when you understand the history, you understand the sort of difference. So no, I don't have any special protection in that regard whatsoever. So I'm very much like you guys, very easy to burn and stuff like that. So if I up my retinol levels and up my MK4 levels and all that, I'm fine. I can stay out up to 5 hours. If I don't do that, let's say I'm deficient in that, even though I may not have any seed oils in my diet, I probably, and I did an experiment, I could only probably stay out for about an hour. I do burn as well. So when I have much higher of those, it's like a sunscreen, as I call it. I can stay out longer. So it's nothing special. It's just the diet that's being protective. So I take those things just to basically be able to stay out longer without actually getting burnt, because I have got burnt in the past, you know, like in Bali for half an hour once, and that I really got badly burnt. So, and that's why basically when I'm in warmer climates and all that, I do actually eat more organ meats. And I do know a lady that basically actually cooks traditional with galangan as a herb, traditional sort of dish of liver. Really nice. Oh, absolutely wonderful what she cooks. Anyway, let's move on. Leather my boots with blood. It's actually the skin for protection. Christina, I have gypsy in my. Luckily, so you're fine in that regard. Yes. So if you got a bit of gypsy in you, you're probably more protected. Turn on a light bulb, and we get sunburned. Yeah. Oh look. Yeah. Look, I used to get sunburned very easily, really easily. You know, I probably, if I actually ever did a test, I'd probably still have some of that scarring from my early sunburned experiences. It's probably, you know, much better now than what it used to be. But yes, I tan, stupid. Look, I'm over it. You know, I sort of, some of my friends make, you know, idiotic comments. They say, "Oh, you're Greek and you don't have a tan," and stuff like that. And I go, "Oh God, you know, why bother?" Harry, why don't you start your own clinic? I've got my own job and investments and other things, and so I don't really need to. So I help you out of my, you know, warm heart or whatever you want to call it, just to support the community, helping out some of you guys now and then when I can. On Carnival, I don't burn in the sun at all, and I'm Norwegian. Exactly, precisely. You eat species appropriate diet, you can actually stay out in the sun. Your ancestors would have. There was no sunscreen in Sweden 50 years, well, even less than that, 30 odd years ago or whatever. So what do you think Norwegians did, you know, basically all of a sudden became people that burnt in the sun automatically? It's nonsense. It's really nonsense. It's just basically we have changed what we eat. We're incorporating really bad fats into our cell membranes, and we're not eating species appropriate foods to protect ourselves. That's all it is. Simple as that. Exactly. Seed oils, no sunburn. No omega. Yeah, you mean seed oils, but not all omega-6s. You know, we do still need some of the essential fatty acids, but I know what you mean. You mean the seed oils, sources. Yes, all those rancid, that rancid shit out there. Oh, yes. Good, mate. Good. Yep, you got to have the sunnies on. Stylish. You see my sunnies when I go out. Got to be a bit stylish. Some like it crispy. They probably do. I have no idea what he's saying. Something about a, you know, I don't know. Please explain. It's hard to avoid seed oils. They're everywhere these days. That's true. If you keep away from processed foods, you've eliminated one of the major vectors into your diet. And if you basically, you know, protect yourself on what the foods you put into your mouth, you know, it's always hard, you know, especially with restaurants and places like that, because sometimes they will take a steak and they will throw it in a deep fry. So they won't actually cook it on a grill. They just fry everything. So you got to really be careful in that regard. Usually when you say to them, you know, rare, they can't fry it. They have to put it on a grill. You can't actually, if you put something in a fryer, it's not going to be rare. It's going to be well done. So they have to put it on a grill. So that's another reason why not having it overcooked. Is that right, Bart? Yes, I mean seed oils. Yep, we know. I knew that's what you meant. Okay, I better. God, it's getting late. I just have to finish off the milk because it's getting damn late. It's 8:30, and I still hadn't finished my milk. I forgot about it. But shouldn't go to waste. So yeah. What is the physiology behind vitamin E and seed oils? Vitamin E is just an electron donor. So you need a vitamin E, which is a complex like you get with Jarrow, but a low dose. And what it does is it will incorporate into the cell membranes. And these have little tails. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer tails. That's why you don't get the standard sort of vitamin E is shit. They're all topopherol. They're all the same size. It's crap. Let alone the dose is too high for the body. They become pro-oxidants. So what you need is a complex, which comes because it's derived, the Jarrow formula is derived from palm oil. And so it's a more complex. And so it has different types of that vitamin E complex with different tail lengths, and they can, in different areas, they can behave as electron donors. But there is another side to that thing. So while vitamin E is a good electron donor, you also need to be in a much less inflammatory environment or food environment, because you want to have sufficient glutathione to refresh, to add back an electron to basically recycle the actual vitamin C, the little amount that you need, and also the vitamin E, the little amount you need. So that is basically the trick behind that. Now, seed oils will be incorporated into your tissues. They will get recycled, as your body does autophagy and actually clears out old cells and old organelles and stuff like that. They come out, and at that time, having the amount of the low dose amount, you can actually provide an electron to those lipids to basically stabilize them. And the body will either burn some of them off, oxidize them, or basically eliminate them. So that's what usually has, and you've got a bit of a turnover, and eventually you will clear out this garbage out of your cell membranes, out of your tissue. The one that's most problematic is the stuff that's stored in adipose tissue, in your fat cells. That's where, if you're losing, if you're basically weight stable and you're incorporating and you're only losing you'll probably get enough from a carnivore diet. You'll get more than enough vitamin E to deal with the small amounts that will be coming out of your fat cells. But if you're losing rapid weight loss or a lot of weight, then you could be putting a lot of this sort of stuff from your past diet, your SAD diet. And in those circumstances, you definitely want to be taking a vitamin E, this low dose vitamin E, the Jarrow one. It's palm oil based, not the other shit that's based on seed oils. So you're just compounding the problem with the other shit crap that's out there. And so over time, you'll basically reduce these problematic lipids in your system. It can take up to a decade. It depends on what your past indiscretions were, lifestyle indiscretions. So it can vary. It's usually 4 to 6 years for the average person. Usually, I usually say 7 years. Do it for 7 years. So maybe do it for longer if you're really consuming a lot of seed oils. So, I don't know what your intake has been through your life, so it's hard to comment specifically the length of time and how much is incorporated in your body. I know that I don't have much incorporated because I don't burn very easily, so I have healed quite a bit. But there are going to be differences, and you have to basically read, do the changes, and then see how your body is responding and how it's doing. So, yeah. So Bart's having a bit of a conversation with John. Out of interest, what is the physiology behind seed being? Well, they're rancid. They've got high primary oxidation products, which basically will go right through your. They will interact and steal electrons and basically cause all sorts of havoc throughout your body. They will incorporate into your cell membranes, and especially if they're hydrogenated, they will have signaling issues. They won't signal properly because they're man-made and altered. So this is another thing that causes some people certain asthma type things, like they get incorporated into the lung surfactant and they don't signal properly, so your lungs don't operate properly. So there's a lot of things where they can get incorporated. They're very nasty when they do get incorporated, and they are bad news all round in that regard. They're basically damaged lipids and very high in aldehydes, and aldehydes basically can rip the actual bilayers of your membranes. So the lipid rafts, or I will just simplify it for you, just basically the outer part of your membranes of your cells can actually be damaged severely. That's what these aldehydes can do. So the more products, like oxidative products you'll have, the more aldehydes you will have as well. So the higher the one, the more increases the other, and they do a lot of damage around the body. So it's not stuff you want in your body. It's it's man-made shit that comes out of an oil refinery. Yeah, exactly. Aldehydes fist your cells. Exactly. They completely and utterly fuck you. And Bart's right. They, that's putting it. Yeah, that's how I should have expressed it. They are really just basically, they will. Yeah, it's not stuff you want, mate. It's just really not stuff you want. Yeah, exactly. And Chris is really, Nobe is, really good on this sort of stuff as well. And he's gone back, and looked at a lot of the literature. My exposure to it was about 9 years ago from the Weston A. Price Foundation. So Sally Fallon in particular. So she got me on to understanding the history of seed oils, how they were manufactured. She did a video. It's called The Oiling of America. People should watch that, and get a bit of an insight. And also look at Pim's research. Exactly. Pim has done a lot of research with Bart. He was the helper. Weren't you, mate? And or were you the gopher, mate? and basically showed that a lot of these sort of are very high in these, dangerous, extremely dangerous aldehydes and oxidative, byproducts. You don't want that shit in your body. It's really hard. It gets incorporated. It takes a long time to get out. Because you can basically say you go and have some fries with your mates, and your mate's sitting there, and you grab a few fries. That stuff is going to incorporate potentially in your body for up to 6-7 years. You don't want that sort of stuff, because that means that area of your body is going to be vulnerable to damage and all that. So, yeah, you want to stay away from that stuff, mate. Believe me. And Bart's put a bit of research there. Yeah, that's the one. It's Pim and Mr. B. I was going to say that, mate. So I will just share that. Oops, Let me go back. So that's the actual one of the research papers on aldehydes. Very interesting read. Let's put it that way. Yep, exactly. It is a crime against humanity. That is exactly right. That stuff. When that stuff was introduced into our diet, our health went to, a hell in a handbasket. Pretty much since these, products have been put into the food supply, our health has really gone bad. Give you an example. Macular degeneration was considered that the Japanese would never get macular degeneration. When they, about 20 odd years ago, 20 years, it's now 30 odd years, when they basically westernized their diet and brought in seed oils, within a short amount of time after, they had noticed the first examples of macular degeneration. Most people believed that it was a genetic disease and the Japanese were completely immune. Weren't they wrong? And the only thing that the Japanese researchers say, it is basically, some of the researchers, not all of them, but some of them basically point their finger at, they generally just talk, it's all this McDonald's, it's all the processed food that's coming from America that's at fault. There's a few characters out there that say, no, it's the seed oils that are part of that. Yes, the refined carbs and all that, they've existed in our in our culture before. I mean, they've got some refined carbohydrates as well. So it's not as if the only thing that was new was the seed oils. And those academics that actually point that out are the ones that are the minority. It's because of politics, understand, not to upset the Americans. It's a trade offset. Basically, Japan does a trade offset and purchases seed oils from America as a trade offset in their trade dealings with the US. That's what it is. And they're poisoning their population or their younger people, Exactly, fuck them. That's what I would, where at least the South Koreans were a bit more smarter, and they basically get their oils primarily from Southeast Asia, coconut and palm oil. So they are less problematic. Palm oil, has its issues as well in its refined form, but it's not as bad as the seed oils, So, and most of the actual products that a lot of the Koreans produce, a lot of them they're using coconut oil, and they're using palm oil is used for some stuff. It's really only a few things that it varies, but it's not as bad. And that's another reason why the Koreans, when it comes to some of these diseases related to seed oils and stuff like that, and aldehydes and all that, those sort of diseases that are related to that haven't gone as high. They're more flat, those ones, from their own sort of just general processed stuff. But where the things have popped up in the Korean population, it's more things like, because of the refined sugars, it's more things like diabetes and stuff like that. That's more that. Where in Japan, it's less that, it's more because they don't eat as many refined carbohydrates as the Koreans. It's more basically these seed oils that have come in, and they're getting more of these like macular degeneration, cardiovascular, strokes and things like that have gone up. So that's what's happening from there. So that's the differences, sort of, you could say, in terms of these different population groups. So it's quite clear that seed oils are very nasty. So whenever they get incorporated into the diet in any country, these sort of diseases go up. Strokes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, all these go up. And when you get refined carbohydrates, you get the sort of other ailments that are related to obesity, fatty liver, things like severe insulin resistance, these sort of conditions emerge. So yeah, and the reason why, and then genetics, how much somebody's going to be predisposed more than another, you know. What do you mean by that, mate? Or is that some word that I've misidentified or misconstrued to be more precise? If you can't tolerate dairy, what would be the next best energy source for muscle building, bodybuilding alongside protein? I wouldn't use white rice. I'd use basically eggs, steak and eggs, like the old steak and eggs diet. Really good. So the whites are pretty good. So for that purpose, it sort of behaves a bit more like casein in the way it allows for longer periods of muscle protein synthesis. So steak and egg diet, basically. Yeah, that would be it. My answer on that. And then you need to find out, are you intolerant to the sugar part, or is it the casein part or stuff like that? So you could basically use, like other dairy products that are very low in basically in lactose. So it depends, how you play around with that. Look, white rice is probably the least egregious compared to other carbohydrates. It's glucose. It's not basically fructose. So it's less of an issue if you're doing quite a lot, but you don't need to, because, the sort of the old bodybuilders didn't use rice. They still made gains on steak and eggs. So, but at the end of the day, making gains can be a number of things as well. Myostatin. What are your genetics? Some people have got genetics, very poor genetics, and they produce far more myostatin, which means they can't really build big muscles. And others have much lower myostatin levels, and they can build muscles much faster and much easier. There are some nutraceuticals as well that you can use, some that are safe, plant-based derived, and some that are not, that basically can inhibit myostatin to allow for more, hypertrophy. But, at the end of the day, are you just doing it to impress your mates, or doing it for competition purposes? I don't know. What are you doing? For what reasons? If you want to learn more, just send me an email. It's hard going to a restaurant and being sure no seed oils. Yeah, look, I know you got to be very careful and all that. That's why I sort of the way I order is specifically to try and eliminate the possibility. A lot of restaurants nowadays I find that are pretty good. They'll say, "Yep, we'll grill you a steak. We won't add anything else. We'll just give you a steak," and that's pretty good. But some of them are, I've actually walked out of restaurants where they've actually said, "No, we won't serve you that. We serve with a whole lot of other things and sauces on top and all that." And I go, "Well, see yous, I'm out of here. If they're not going to serve me what I want, I'm not going to stay." So simple as that. That's how I approach it. If they want my money, they better basically provide me the service that I want. If they don't want my money, well, that's basically my response. So I will walk out of any restaurant that doesn't serve me what I want. I don't give a shit what people are looking at me or whatever. Fuck them. My body comes first. They can go and get fucked, all of them. They want to sell, use cheap shit. I'm prepared to pay a bit extra for good stuff, but I'm not basically prepared to be poisoned. Anyway, if you exercise 1 or 2 hours a day at high intensity, how many grams of carbs could you get away with per, you don't really need, you don't need this fallacy that you need carbohydrates to build muscles is a myth, or, what you do is, okay, So what some of these characters do is they have carbs because they want to bulk their muscles, so more water retention. So basically what you want to do is you want to raise your blood pressure, you want to retain more water fluid in your muscles so they look bigger. That's what, carbs can do that. It takes much more effort doing it the steak and eggs diet approach to really build up but the difference is those muscles are solid. They're not basically, soft. You can actually touch them and they'll sort of create like, dibbles and stuff like that. They're just so unnatural. I mean, if you're not competing, why do you want that? So do you see tribal people having these big, unusual muscles or body compositions? No. So why would you want that shit? I wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. Crappy oils. Yes, doctor. Going out to eat is hard. Indeed hard. Yes, must be very hard on the treadmill. Yes. Do you take your treadmill with you? That would be stylish. Why do you want to consume? Yeah, exactly. Why do you want? Yeah, exactly. As if a lot of these guys, they bulk up and they think, oh yeah, I'm going to really build, and all they're doing is they're just retaining a lot of fluids. That's all they're basically doing. It's so, yeah. I mean, and if you only have to look at some of them that actually compete, like in the Miss Olympia and all that, and a few days later they are literally fat as, bloated and look like a mess. So it's all this crazy competition stuff. We don't want that. We want, proper muscles to be built, which are strong. My father never had big muscles, very muscular. He was a boilermaker welder. I mean, he was a small business owner. He had a corner shop, but before he became that, he was a boilermaker welder. And Dad had some of the strongest. You could touch his muscles. They were like rock. They would not move. They were solid as. He was basically a beast. And he wasn't very tall either. And basically this guy that was taller than him, 6 foot, he actually, a foreman that basically pissed him off, he basically threw him over and actually, dealt with him quite, he was shocked. The guy actually came back years later and actually apologized to my father, so he was a German foreman, German-Australian foreman. But then they became good friends. But that's a different story. But Dad was fucking built like a brick shithouse. And he didn't basically, have these bulging crazy, he was just from physical work, lifting big steel pieces of metal, really like people, but it's not bulk, it's strong. It's like a solid thing, something really solid, muscles where it doesn't hardly move, it's so dense in muscle fibers. That's real muscle, not this shit that basically gets on stage and it looks like, some sort of thing out of an alien movie. That's what they consider perfection. No thanks, as far as I'm concerned. But if that's your gig, good luck to you. You may have to play around with some of those stuff. But a lot of them, like a lot of the old bodybuilders used to use basically the steak and eggs, some of the dairy products and stuff like that I've sort of provided information about. They used to build really big muscular bodies with a lot of work. They did a lot of work, but at the same time, they were quite lean looking. They had really great physiques and techniques, like they used a lot of, like they had these customized things to do certain exercise that would actually lengthen their shoulders, create that wider sort of look and a whole lot of other things. Some of these guys now have got these big, massive muscles and they've got this big pot belly because of the carbs. They don't really look that fantastic as far as I'm concerned. But, that's what all of them are doing. And so, that's what they have to select in the competition between. But it's not like the old guys. They really had great bodies. So, yes. Yes, that sort of stuff. Oh, pizza and ice cream yesterday. Yeah, oh well, we'll have our indiscretions, minus ice cream on the Saturday. So, yes. Poor lymphatic drainage and poor kidney function. Is it dangerous as you get older, draining the lungs and then hurt the heart? Would an older person combat this naturally? Yeah, like edema, which is what you're talking about. That is a lot of water retention. And it usually means that you've got a certain level. Yep, gotcha. A certain level of insulin resistance. That's the thing. So you may look at basically fasting for a period of time to try and get rid of that water retention, clear it out. But at the same time, sort out your electrolytes while you're doing that. Very important. So supplement with electrolytes, very critical in your circumstances. And you should dump those fluids. And I would do up to 80 hours, try and actually get my body insulin sensitive again. And when you do break your fast, make sure that it is something which is low insulinogenic. You definitely don't want carbs to break you there. And you definitely don't want a lot of protein. You want something like soup. You want something like, you don't want over-exaggeration and find yourself in a hypoglycemic state. So you don't want insulin to rise too fast because it's very sensitive after a fast. So then you basically want to have something like a bone broth, something which has got more fat in it, and then sort of transition back to normal eating in that regard. But, edema, water retention, stuff like that is definitely that. All the studies that I've actually looked at when it comes to improving your heart muscle and stuff like that, taurine. Protein ultimately will fix most of the things, So even a lot of research has never proven that it's actually high insulin that actually damages your organs. It's not protein. So it's really basically you really have to fix up your insulin resistance. That's what you need to do. And if you're having problems in that regard, I would, and if it's basically related to things like food addictions, go and see Pim, go and contact Pim and ask her for help, because she's really good. She's better than me at, when it comes to food addictions and stuff like that. So if you've got food addictions, Zach, go and contact Pim, and, get her to basically, do a consultancy with her. She'll help you out if that's. Yes. So, yeah, hopefully that helps things. What's Bird Brain saying? I better allow him to say his little trolling things. We can't forget our trolls, very important to look after our trolls. My brother had a sliced bread for his kids for school. There is canola oil in it nowadays. Yep, exactly. He made his own bread. He's making his own bread. Good and bad. There are other ways. There's like no gluten tapioca flour, which is a tropical flour which you can use. So there are other type, for kids, stuff like that. But there are other approaches also, carnivore type approaches. You can actually create basically like with, as long as the kids are not dairy intolerant or anything like that. There are basically where you can use cheese type things with also flour, which is insect flour. So you can use combined insect flour with some eggs and some other stuff and make like buns which are basically primarily I think they use also gum. There are a couple of different gums which come out of Africa and Asia, and they can also be incorporated to basically bind as binders, plus some eggs as binders, and that's another option. You don't need to consume grains to make something bread-like for kids. So yeah, I'll try and look. If I can get some information, just send me an email and remind me, and I'll try and find those links. I think they're on my work machine, and I'll send them to you. And if your brother's interested, yeah, maybe that's an option to be able to use, to be able to make something which is healthier for the kids and provides them with more protein as well in their diet, which is important for growing kids. Anyway, let's move on. Intermittent fasting, break down skin tags. Yep, it does help. Exactly. Nothing like clearing out the garbage. And skin tags can tell tales of inflammation. Yes. And insulin resistance. Exactly. Precisely. It's good to see you guys are learning. Very good. Very good. I have seen them on diabetic patients. Yep, a lot. Yep, exactly. My brother-in-law of my younger sister, he's diabetic, and we're sort of slowly getting him off the shit that he still eats or hides, to be more precise, because his daughter actually caught him cheating. Anyway, so yeah, trying to get people off their addictions, not very easy. So anyway, so I know the situation with people with diabetes. Sometimes they've got food issues and addiction issues, which can be hard on them to try and shift them away from those sort of foods. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. What's this? What company do you recommend? I don't recommend any companies for DNA testing. You got to do your own research. I did with 23andMe. So do your own research. I am pissed off with 23andMe because recently they've actually taken out of the downloadable. Luckily, I had the old original download that I did. They have actually reduced the amount of information in the basic $99 one. So they've really, luckily I kept the original. So I still got the original data, raw data, because they've actually eliminated a lot of that information out of the new one that you download. So they're trying to force people to try and do the more expensive one, which is about $200, and sometimes there are places that discount it down to 150 odd or whatever, which is really annoying because they are creating these 2-tier or 3-tier or whatever. They've got all these sort of things, which basically means that, it's basically, I'm just lucky that I kept my original download. So yeah, I'm not entirely happy with them. They've really pissed me off in that regard. But so I don't recommend them anymore. And there are sort of related security issues with them as well. Just check Europe. You're in Europe, find out. I think there is a company in Estonia that does similar DNA research, and they are. But I contact Pim. And Pim knows the guy who she interviewed on, which had to do with insulin resistance and stuff like that. And that guy goes and does his tests in Estonia, and you would be able to get the information, specifically who to contact and how to get the test. So that's one option. The advantage of some of these bigger companies like 23andMe and all that is that they do have a lot of tools that you can check things, and they usually give you a lot of information, like DNA information. They'll give you printouts. They'll tell you what vulnerabilities and all that, where if you want that additional information, you may have to go to another site. There are some what is it, genetic Genie, which basically provides us a free thing about methylation and stuff like that. Those genes for free. There's a couple of different services and all that. If you want all that information, just email me and I will send you all the links that I've got in regards to that from my work machine. So if you send it, because I check my email sometimes at work, and so I can actually just send you all the links from there, because I don't have, this is the problem with having half things being done on one computer and the other. So I just need to grab my favorites from there and repopulate them on this one, because I haven't done that yet for a while now, for quite a few months. Yeah, okay, I'll take my time. I'm informative. I like to, talk. Yes. Actually, guys, I'm going to basically have to call it quits, because we're over the 3-hour mark and I'm beyond that point, and I've got work tomorrow as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. And thanks, everyone. You will have to see me next time and ask me questions and stuff like that. Yeah. I know I've missed quite a few questions. I do apologize. That bald man that was on earlier that basically took up an hour of your time. So, yes, 45 minutes. So, just give me a sec. Where is it? Fuck me. Yeah, no problems, mate. Yeah, the problem with Ancestry, I used Ancestry, but there were some bugs, and plus some of the actual raw data is, I don't think that they provide, they don't. They don't provide a lot of raw data, and some of the stuff is problematic. It doesn't actually work properly in some of the actual other sites where you upload your raw data, so it can be a problem. Ancestry is good just to give you a more for Ancestry. They don't really give you some sort of the biological stuff. That's tomorrow with Linda and Bart, so just keep that in mind. So when that is, so guys, go and check that out tomorrow morning. I'll be probably just getting up at that time, and I'll have to watch it later and getting into the shower and all that, and getting ready to go to work. I'm usually in and out pretty fast, and then I just walk down into the city. So I'll be basically there. I'll be basically walking at the time that it's probably on. It's either that or I'll just be getting ready to basically. So I will watch it later, Bart, because it does interest me as well, especially for Dad. And so definitely will be taking a bit of a look. Look, thanks guys for being here. If you've really got urgent questions that you want to, just email me. If it can wait until next week, then just ask me next week. Just remember, just note it and ask me early on in the piece, because sometimes it's easier that way and all that. Yes. Yes, that is true. Some of them are at long fucking last. First of all, they are not. It wasn't vegan diet. Second, very poor research. Very poor research, and they know it. And it's lucky that some of them have the decency to basically own up to the nonsense. I mean, I always point that out. How can basically Christopher Gartner, who does a randomized control study out of Stanford University, show quite clearly that Ornish is inferior to the Atkins diet in the A to Z study, and these guys apparently, who are not even doing a proper studies, come up with a different result? Bullshit. I can't believe that. When you're eating so many such a high diet in, foods that are with so many anti-nutrients, with so many factors in them that do so many damage, that they are good is beyond me. Or the phytosterols, how bad are they? They incorporate into your red blood cells and they stiffen them up so they can't get into certain areas, which ends up creating little pockets around the body of hypoxia. Not a good thing, to damage, to create an environment where it will cause damage to cells in the body because they're not getting oxygenation. So, part of probably the peripheral neuropathy and stuff like that is probably caused by these things. So it's bad news all round in that regard. We need to get the plants out. They should be used as, something like very minimal, maybe the way I do it, like herbs and spices, just a flavor and stuff like that. But that's about it, in a sense, like raw sugar is not good for your general health, but it's probably going to cause less damage. Sorry, not raw sugar, raw starch is probably going to, is going to be taken in as sugar. And as long as you're not engaging the Randall cycle, it's going to cause far less problems than a lot of these green leafy shit that is out there that causes so many issues with so many anti-nutrients. But I don't recommend any plants, and people should use them at a minimal. Like our ancestors used plants. They used certain plants for medicinal purposes, as nutraceuticals, as basically something that would create a hermetic effect and upregulate glutathione. They actually use them as a therapeutic approach. Plants and plant compounds are medicine. They're not food. And we need to get that message out. Plants are medicine. They are not food. Actually, Bart, you should make a T-shirt with that. Controversial, real controversial thoughts, not the crap that comes from Salad Boy. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Take care. See you next week. Maybe I'll do something, a few little things. I actually reset. I won't be able to do it this week, will I? No, I reset. StreamYard resets on Friday. Bummer. So, but next week, I will try some of these evening shorter little things and see how it goes. We'll play. I'll play around with it. Bart's idea is a good idea. I'll give it a go and see whether that improves things. Thanks, Lukey. Good to see you, mate. And thanks for that stuff earlier that we had. That was funny as I enjoyed that. So we got quite a few laughs out of that sort of information. So let me just. Oh, is that coming up? What is it doing? Oops. Where is that? Okay, so I'll just put this on the screen. That was basically Lukey's morning stuff that he provided us. When you're a lost soul that can't deal with your cravings, repeat forever. And the other one is, good call. Neogenesis is really bad. McKay. Ray Derp Pete. Funny as fuck, It's great. Yeah, and that's from Luke Gear. Dr. Luke Gear. Mate, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Yeah, you're a great asset to our community, and I do appreciate all your help to my channel. Always appreciated. Yes. Thanks, mate. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Take care. And we will chat next week. And I'll see whether I can do something. I'm going to try do something like short ones and then just do like a premiere thing and see how that goes through the week. So I'll just do something like that, just some simple stuff, and see how that plays out through the week. And then I'll do little live ones next week and then see how that actually plays out through this month. Maybe it improves my sort of visibility on YouTube. One can only hope, but these things are really strange, and yes, only God knows. So thanks, guys. See you. Take care, and see you in the not too distant future. Bye.